front of the Supreme Court here in Washington. That's not Dave Justice up there. Nah, couldn't be. Willie Randolph and his Mets had their 5-game winning streak stopped last night here in Washington. They'll try and get even in the series tonight. Chris Connors sat down with Willie last night. Here's more of that interview.
Pittsburgh, you come up with a team like that with a guy like Pops, who was basically the father figure on that team and took care of everybody. Does this team have a player like that, or even need a player that fills that role?
Well, we don't really need a player like that. I think my coaching staff does a lot of that for me. I mean, we have a great staff, and I don't think they get enough credit. I mean, Sandy and Jerry and Tommy, Manny's done a great job at third base for us. Rick, the two Ricks and Guy Conti, they really kind of set the tone for the attitude of a lot of our players here. Now, we have Franco, of course, who does a lot of that for us. Delgado is another guy who's really one of those kind of mentor, kind of teacher guys on your ball club. So that's what I mean. We have a nice mix over here that, everyone kind of contributes to the success of what we're doing.
What would you say, finally here, Willie, is the biggest difference between playing back then, 70s, and playing today in the game? What's the biggest difference?
There's a lot of big differences, but I think more than anything, it's just the competition overall is just fiercer. I think you have so many good teams out there, and some people might say, well, the National League is not as strong in the American League, but that's not necessarily true. I think that you still have to compete every day, and the talent in the game nowadays is unbelievable, I think. And so every day when you go out, you got to be on your toes. Some good young pitchers coming up, some good hitters in the game. So the competition is where it should be, and that's why I think the game is so great. It's just an abundance of talent, and that if you don't stay on top of your game, you're not going to do as well in this league.
Okay, appreciate your time, Willie.
Okay, man. Thanks.
Great to see Willie in those Pittsburgh Pirates duds. Gosh, he was a young guy then. John Maine, a 25-year-old rookie, has certainly opened some eyes in his brief time with the Mets. Jose Reyes approaching 300. He's on a hot streak. As they take on Frank Robinson's Washington Nationals, Maine tries to keep his scoreless inning streak alive. First pitch coming right up. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by ChevyOffers.com, the presenting sponsor of Baseball Night in New York. By Rico, move your ideas forward with Rico dependability. By Honda, see your Honda dealer and discover the great values now being offered. By Aflac, ask about it at work. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% on car insurance. Visit geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. The pride of Manalapan, New Jersey, Jason Bergman, 24-year-old right-hander, just his second big league start. And here's the Chevy Mets lineup that he'll face tonight. Michael Tucker gets his third straight start. You see what Reyes has done. He had a little bit of a rough patch after coming back from the finger injury, but he's been raging ever since.
Well, Jason Bergman, very interesting story. Was a starter in college. They made him a reliever here for the Nationals, pitch well, but they have such a dearth of starting pitching that now that they've sent him back down and become a starter again.
Well, with Liban Hernandez traded and 9 pitchers on the disabled list, the Nationals certainly have a need right now, and whether Bergman could be the man to fill it, they'll get a little measure of that tonight. See what he's done in relief this year. 17 relief outings as a Nat, and it's 2-1 to Reyes. Reyes riding a 7-game hitting streak, has a season average up to 298. 94 runs scored, second in the league. And Bergman gets him chasing 2-2.
That's what you're going to see from Bergman a lot. He has a good sinking fastball between 90 and 92 miles an hour. A little slider and a little changeup that he uses when he starts.
On 2-2, Reyes lifts one foul, heading over toward the crowd. A lot of room to run in foul territory, but not enough for Zimmerman there. Reyes stole his 49th base last night. Last year stole 60 to become the first Met ever to lead the league in steals. And certainly in line to do that again, and perhaps steal a few more this year as he just keeps getting better and better. Nick Johnson fields the ground ball. Bergman just gets there in time to beat Reyes to the bag, and that's the first out of the game.
Well, there's the Fords national defense. The former Cincinnati Reds Lopez and Kearns at shortstop and right field, respectively. Marlon Anderson's playing second base because Jose Vidro is hurt. And Brian Schneider doing the catching tonight. Of course, he had the big hit against Tom Glavine in last night's ball game.
And both teams back in conventional uniforms tonight. The New York Cubans uniforms, in which the Mets are now 0-2, have been put aside. Nationals wore the uniforms of the Homestead Grays last night in a Negro League tribute. And LaDuca, who hit his first home run in nearly 3 months last night, takes ball one. Ball hitting at .319. And Bergman throws a fastball by him, 1-1.
Well, there's something you don't usually see LaDuca do. That was a very big cut. And maybe he hurt himself with that big swing.
Well, that left thumb has been barking for the better part of 2 months now, and sometimes on swings and misses it hurts the most.
I see how he let the bat go there. I think that hurt that thumb and wrist combination, trying to shake it off. He will, of course.
Well, he hit the home run last night, so it looked like he was trying to make it 2 nights in a row. He may hesitate before he does that again. It's 2-1.
Well, that's not his swing. He's got that short, compact swing is when he's most effective.
All along, Paul has said the thumb hurts most catching, more so than batting. But every once in a while, you see him wince, and you know it's hurting again. To right center field, hit pretty well. Escobar and Kearns converge, and Escobar's got it 2 away. So Bergman's retired the first 2 as LaDuca flies out. Jason Bergman out of Rutgers University. He did not enjoy a whole lot of success in college. In fact, his college earned run average was 4.71, but he had a good arm. The Expos drafted him in the 11th round, and he came very quickly through the minor leagues. Here's Carlos Beltran with 2 out, and he takes a strike.
You know, the first round pick for the Mets this year, Mulvey, had the same kind of year, didn't he? Just not great statistics, not a lot of strikeouts per innings pitched, but Mets really like his arm.
You never know with those Big East pitchers how they're going to blossom. And you know, we were talking last night about players who play college ball in the Northeast that don't play that many games. As Beltran hits it toward the middle, and the Mets have their first base runner of the night. So Beltran, who took an 0 for last night, has a base hit his first time up tonight, and he's aboard for Carlos Delgado. Mets trying to get off to a fast start, as they've done so many times this year. Far more first inning runs than anybody else in the big leagues.
For those teams, of course, from the American League, Dodgers, who've been on a great roll there in 4th place.
Delgado didn't start last night. He's been struggling. Just 3 for his last 24. And the home run numbers have been down for the better part of a couple of months now. They put the overshift on. You see Marlon Anderson playing out in shallow right field, and Delgado takes it high. But when you have pitchers, or any players really, who come out of the Northeast, you have to do a little more projecting as a scout.
Projecting, and also just taking a look at their simple numbers. How hard they throw. Can they hit spots? How polished are they? Because you're not going to see them a lot. I mean, you could see a Big East pitcher maybe make 8-9 starts in the course of a spring campaign. So not a big number to get a look at them, as opposed to maybe someone from Rice or Houston, where you're going to see 20-22 starts.
Bergman in 3 years at Rutgers made 13 starts. So there wasn't a whole lot of track record for the scouts to go by, but the Expos believed in him, and that's why they drafted him. High strike to Delgado, 2-1. Bergman's been on the shuttle between Washington and New Orleans this year. It's probably a nice train ride.
Well, if you got to go to a town, New Orleans is not that bad.
And the changeup misses, 3-1.
You know, a lot of the players, because of Katrina last year, for the Nationals, did a lot of great work down in New Orleans, helping a lot of the folks, donating their time, money, to help some of the folks down there that went through such a horrible time and are still going through a horrible time.
Good hitting spot for Delgado on 3-1, and Bergman chases Beltran back.
Isn't it interesting, Gary, that we when Delgado came over. He was supposed to take a lot of the pressure off Beltran, which he has done. But Beltran's great year has kind of taken some of the pressure off Delgado and some of the struggles he's had during the course of the season.
Been an up and down year for Delgado. Beltran runs. It's ball 4, and the Mets have 2 men on for David Wright. Well, you're right, because, you know, with Beltran in front of him and Wright behind him, even when Delgado has struggled, it hasn't really put much of a crimp in the Mets offense. They still lead the league in runs scored.
Yeah, left Wright out of that equation. Yeah, they both have sandwiched him so well that when he's gone through those stretches, it seems like Wright will come up with a 2-out hit, or Beltran will hit a home run in front of him.
So here's David Wright. David went 0 for 3 last night. 86 RBIs, puts him 6th in the National League. And he's 4th in the league batting with runners in scoring position. 373 on the season, and a crack here with 2 out and 2 on. Against the rookie right-hander Jason Bergman. And a strike. Mets have done much better against rookies lately. Early in the season, they were getting befuddled with regularity by the Matt Cains and the Mike O'Connors. But lately, the Mets have been beating up on rookie pitchers. They're 7-1 the last 8 times they faced a rookie starter. Toward the hole, Zimmerman cuts it off nicely and gets the force at second. Ryan Zimmerman with a terrific glove at third base, moving nicely to his left and getting the force to deny his former buddy, David Wright. John Maine takes the mound for his 7th start of the year, and he has been electric. 23 consecutive scoreless innings beginning the night. And here's the Rico lineup he'll face. Same starting 8 for the Nationals tonight. Ryan Zimmerman leading National League rookies with 75 RBIs. Nationals have struggled offensively for most of the year, but they've got some guys having some good seasons in Zimmerman, Nick Johnson, and of course Alfonso Soriano, who leads it off against Maine.
Well, you look at those numbers. Opponent's batting average 190, only 26 hits, 39 innings.
Soriano goes after the first one, and David Wright throws him out. 1 pitch and 1 retired by John Maine. So 1 out and nobody on.
Oh, nice play by David Wright there at third. And here's the Geico Mets defense. Latuca doing the catching for the young pitcher, 25-year-older Maine. See Michael Tucker getting that start in left field. Lastings Millage again in right. Other than that, just about the same solid lineup for the Mets.
Here's Felipe Lopez, the former Cincinnati Red, and he takes a strike. And we've seen from Maine in virtually every start the same pitching pattern early in the game.
I think it's just very good to see when you got a guy this young to come over to a new team. Usually they're a little excited, really want to impress. He's just been laid back, throwing strikes, being aggressive early in the count. And I think that, you know, that's got to please Willie Randolph. It's got to please Rick Peterson. And it's got to please Omar Minaya, who dealt and got Maine in that trade for Chris Benson.
There's a fastball by Lopez, 2-2. We've seen Maine get his fastball up to 94 miles an hour. Touched 95 on a couple of occasions. Still getting loosened up. 3-2 to Lopez.
He was just flying open a little. That left shoulder of his got to stay closed if you want to get that ball where you want to.
On 3-2 off Maine's glove. It'll be tough for Valentin. Bare hand play, and he got him. Great recovery by Valentin, who had to change directions after Maine deflected the ball. 2 out.
I do have to say that I knew Jose Valentin had a lot of power. I do have to say he was a good shortstop, but I didn't know he had this kind of athleticism. We've seen it game in and game out. The instincts that he has, the times that he has, that he knows he had to pick that up barehanded. Fine play.
Not only pick it up barehanded, but the quickness of the release after picking it up barehanded. That's tough to do.
Yeah, he didn't have to pick it up and get a grip. He just picked it and shoveled it over there.
Ryan Zimmerman takes a strike, so 2 batters, 2 ground ball outs for John Maine. Zimmerman having a tremendous rookie year. 1 for 4 last night, including his 36th double of the year. And Maine ahead of him 0-2.
And he loves hitting here. 338 he hits here at RFK, and I think one of the reasons is that he has all those doubles is that it's a very big ballpark. Lots of gaps here, and that's the kind of hitter that Zimmerman is. And I think as he gets older and stronger, a lot of those doubles will turn into home runs.
He's just 21. And the comebacker to Maine has plenty of time to recover and throws out Zimmerman, side retired. So another strong inning for John Maine. 3 ground ball outs, 24 straight scoreless innings, and a scoreless game as we go to the second. You may have heard that this September the WB11 is changing into the new CW11. So what does that mean to fans of the WB11 news? Well, the name of the station may be changing, but the CW11 will still be the place to find your favorite news shows in the morning and at night. Jose Valentin leads off the second inning against Jason Bergman. Valentin continuing to shine in a way that nobody could have anticipated. 1-1 to Valentin. If he's not the comeback player of the year, then he's the knock your eyes out player of the year.
Well, you know, you've seen that Carlos Beltran is nominated for a comeback player of the year, but you know, Beltran you expect at some point to have the season he's having now.
Right.
No one expected it from Valentin.
3-1 to Valentin. Michael Tucker and Lastings Millage to follow here in the second. Gets the 3-1 fastball and swings through it.
Well, the good news for Bergman is that up in the strike zone, he's got some swinging strikes. That's not usually good news as the game goes along, because for him to be successful, he needs to be down around the knees.
Well, he's never pitched more than 3 innings in any big league game. Now, he'd made 4 starts in the minors leading up to this one, but you have to really wonder about how far he can go in a game. Valentin fouls it off.
Well, one of the things that he'll have to do tonight against the left-handed hitters from the Mets is his fastball tails back over the middle of the plate. So that ball inside is going to be the key. If he can get that ball inside on the left-handers consistently, then he'll have some success. But it's hard when your ball tails that much.
3-2 to Valentin, and he bounces another one foul.
And I know first-handed, because I had a very hard time throwing inside the left-handers because the movement on my ball was similar to Bergman's. I had to develop not really a cutter, just a four-seamer, something I could throw straight so I could pinpoint it in there to the left-handers.
And he strikes out Valentin with the slider, so Bergman has his first strikeout as he gets Valentin to start the second.
Well, when you're facing a young pitcher you haven't seen a lot, you see some very funny swings, and this was a funny swing from Valentin. Schneider was sitting on the outside part looking for a backdoor slider. Instead it was down and in. Valentin swinging over the top.
May not have been where he wanted it, but it was a great pitch.
Yeah. Remember that.
Here's Tucker, and he takes a strike. Well, Michael Tucker starting his 3rd straight game, and that raised a couple of eyebrows when Willie posted the lineup tonight that Andy Chavez was not starting for the 2nd straight game. But Willie clearly wants to get a look at Michael Tucker and get an idea what he has. Strikes out on the slider. Back-to-back strikeouts for Bergman, 2 away.
Well, Gary, you make a really good point, and the point is that with the both right field and left field question mark, as you see this slider again, the same pitch that he threw to Valentin, you don't know who's going to play right, who's going to play left. That you got to see if they can play right now, and if they can't, then move on to someone else, or think about a trade, or whatever you have to do.
Here's Millage, who obviously is a big part of that equation as well. Lastings did not. He started last night, went 1 for 2. Didn't start the day before that against a right-hander, but is in there tonight. And he hits it hard, but right to Zimmerman on one hop, and that retires the side. So a strong 1-2-3 inning for Jason Bergman. John Maine will go back to the mound, looking for a 25th consecutive scoreless inning as we go to the bottom of the second. Now Now as John Maine goes to the mound for the bottom of the second, the Duck is making an early appearance. I figured we'd ask you who holds the Mets record for most consecutive scoreless innings pitched. Maine is at 24 after a 1-2-3 first inning. So chew on that for a moment. John Maine in the clubhouse before the game today, very calm, greeting some guests. He grew up not far from Washington as Nick Johnson rolls over one. Johnson, who had a rough night at the plate last night, out on one pitch in his first at bat tonight. The guests left the clubhouse, and John Maine did what he always does before a game. He grabbed a crossword puzzle, went to sit in his locker, and calmly composed himself to get ready for the game.
Can I tell you, I'm really jealous of pitchers that are like that can be very calm for the game. Didn't want to see anyone that I knew just leave me alone until 7:05.
John grew up in Fredericksburg, Virginia. His mother, father, sister, and brother are here tonight. They had a song back in the 70s.
That's right.
TSOP by MFSB. Here's Austin Kearns. Speaking of the sound of Philadelphia, that's where the Mets will be heading after this series is over for a 4-game set with the Phillies, who won in 14 innings last night to cut the Mets lead down to a mere 13 games. And Kearns loses the bat, which hops off the dugout roof and into the crowd. One kid got hit by the bat, the other kid retrieved the bat. That's not fair. The kid who got hit should have gotten the bat.
Kid in the white T-shirt, he got hit in the wrist, it looks like, with a hand.
Well, Austin Kearns is not making a play to get his bat back. He's just picking out a new one.
Well, he figures that one's no good. As the hammer throw from Austin Kearns.
That's scary. You know, when a ball heads toward you, you have some idea what to do.
Yeah.
When a bat helicopters toward you, you don't know which direction to run. And Kearns strikes out on the high fastball. That's the first strikeout for John Maine. So Maine just keeps on rolling. 5 straight to start the game.
You know, we talked earlier in the game, or before the game, that he seems to have that great life upstairs in the strike zone. Only other pitcher I ever played with who didn't throw 95 or 96 miles an hour was Dennis Eckersley, who had that same kind of movement up in the strike zone, the right-handers, when he threw that high hard one.
2 out and nobody on. Here's Marlon Anderson, the former Met, and he takes a strike. The other thing about Maine is you look at his delivery, and it's not like he doesn't appear to be a max effort guy.
And I think that's the reason it moves so much, because it's almost like a snap, like a whip. He just kind of has long arms and just lets it come off that real easy motion. John Mitchell was a guy who used to pitch for the Mets in the 80s and the 90s, and he had the same kind of easy-going motion, and the ball would really get a lot of movement because it threw like a whip.
Well, I think of Mariano Rivera, a guy who looks like he's asleep on the mound, and all of a sudden the ball's exploding on you.
You can see he's not really max effort, and he's not pushing off of that back foot. In fact, that back leg kind of lags a little bit behind him.
Now he's behind on Marlon Anderson, 3-1. Anderson 1 for 3 last night. He's been starting just about every day in the absence of Jose Vidro, who's out with a hamstring injury. And he walks first base runner for the Nationals. A 2-out walk to Anderson. Maine's been averaging about 3 walks per 9 innings.
Well, those as a starting pitcher are the ones that kill you. You go through the first 2 guys, your stuff is right on, you're throwing it where you want, and then just a little loss of concentration, and you got a guy on first.
So here's Alex Escobar, the former Mets prospect, hitting .370 in limited duty, and he takes a strike. Escobar, as generally has been the case in his career, was hurt until very recently. Had a hamstring injury, came back in early July. And with Jose Guillen out for the season, Escobar getting a lot of playing time.
Maine on that throw to first. He has a decent move to first. One thing that teams have not been able to take advantage of, he has a very slow move to the plate, and that's something that, you know, as you can see, his average runners on base, that is something that John Maine will have to work on, because he's a kind of a ground ball pitcher unless he's up in the strike zone, and if he can keep them close, he'll get some double plays.
course, if they're only hitting 150 with men on base, you don't even need the double plays. There goes Anderson, and it's fouled off by Escobar. Anderson had a pretty good jump.
That's when they used to always worry, Gary, about Dwight Gooden. They used to say, boy, you know, he's got to get better at getting that ball to the plate, keeping those runners, because they're going to steal bases on him. Well, no one's on base. What's the difference?
Sounds like Chris Young we saw the other day with San Diego. Can't hold runners on base because he's 6'10", but look at the year he's having. 0-2 to Escobar. Anderson running 0-1. Maybe he'll run 0-2. Not going. And the pitch out of the strike zone.
And Chris Young, another guy coming into that Met game, he was only allowing a batting average of 163 with runners in scoring position. So even though he has base runners, he's able to make those pitches to get out of the jams.
And Maine strikes out Escobar. Foul tip held by LaDuca. Side retired. Second strikeout from Maine. He runs the scoreless inning string to 25. Still no score.
Head to Shea Saturday, August 20th.
Be part of the celebration at Shea with Mets season tickets. Prorated packages include postseason ticket purchase options and priority access for season tickets in the new Mets ballpark. To get your season tickets for the rest of '06, call 718-507-TIXX or go to Mets.com today. John Maine still looking for his first big league hit, and therein lies a dilemma. You've thrown 25 consecutive scoreless innings. You haven't gotten a hit in the big leagues. If you get a hit, does that mess things up?
Absolutely. Don't change a thing. Just stand there, take your lick, and sit down. No. Of course, he's looking for that hit.
0 for 13 to begin his big league career. Didn't have a hit, didn't have an at bat in the American League when he played for the Orioles. Just got a piece of that.
Well, if he's going to get his hit, get in front of his family. That'd be the perfect time to do it.
Might as well hit a home run. Get yourself a lead at the same time.
I don't see that happen.
I'm sure he hopes to surprise you.
I'm just going by what I've seen in the swings. That's all.
Sometimes the bat just runs into the ball. Well, that time the ball ran into John Maine. And he gets on base the hard way. And the Mets have the leadoff man on against Jason Bergman, who I'm sure had no intent of doing that.
Well, look at Brian Schneider sitting on the outside corner. Very unusual, especially to a pitcher, to see a pitch get away from a major league pitcher that far in.
Didn't appear to hurt him, although it got him right in the ribs. And so Maine is on, and let's see what the Mets do with Reyes here in a scoreless game. Jose grounded out to first his first time up. Maine not being held on. And Bergman misses badly with the changeup, 1-0. Reyes 2 hits last night, including a double. Now has 48 extra base hits, 54 RBIs out of the leadoff spot. Willie Randolph is being asked tonight about comparisons between Reyes and Soriano. And the fact that Soriano may be a 40-40 guy soon. And he said the last thing in the world I would ever want would be for Reyes to try and be a 40-40 guy.
Or to compare him to Soriano.
Of course, Willie had a lot to do with Soriano's success with the Yankees. Taught him how to play second base. Soriano became, in Willie's words, adequate. And he's trying to be adequate in left field now. 3-0 now to Reyes. With Maine aboard, there's a strike. Reyes has not drawn as many walks the last couple of months as he did early in the year, when he was kind of focusing on drawing more walks. There's a strike, 3-2. And I think his overall approach is much better.
I think that patience early in the season stopped him when he got on that streak from swinging at those curveballs in the dirt and at those fastballs up in the strike zone. He'll do it occasionally, but much better than last year.
You don't expect Maine to run. He doesn't, and Reyes pulls it foul. Well, the one thing that Rick Down and Willie Randolph have been trying to get across to Reyes, and it appears with increasing success, is that it's not about walks. It's about identifying the pitch you can hit, isolating that pitch, and taking a swing when you get it. And he lifts this one to deep right center field. Back goes Kearns, looking up near the wall, and it lands at the base of the fence. Maine to third. He's being waved around by Manny Acta. The relay throw gets away. Reyes at third with a triple. 1-0 New York. 15th triple of the year for Reyes, his 55th RBI, and Maine chugged all the way home from first.
Well, I tell you, I hope Manny Acta didn't pull out his shoulder, because he had that windmill working to try to get Maine going. Hanging slider here on a 3-2 pitch from Jason Bergman. Nice job of hitting by Jose Reyes. That ball is out of most ballparks. See, he slowed down because Maine really had trouble getting around the bases. Acta waved him through. Look at Manny Acta really getting John Maine home.
I was watching Maine between second and third, and he was just assuming that he was supposed to stop. And that's why Manny was waving so frantically, because he knew that Maine had every chance to score, and it'll take a little bit of hydration to get him ready to go back to the mound.
The trainer's asking where he got hit. He pointed at his ribs. He said he's fine.
Mike Herbst, the assistant trainer in the Mets dugout.
They're all giving him the business, because he has, when Jose Reyes is sitting behind you, you better get going, and that wasn't a great job of identifying a base hit. And again, we've seen this all year long. I mean, maybe this is how base runners do it now. Everyone keeps their eye on the ball instead of the coach.
And LaDuca rips one to left. That's a base hit. It'll get Reyes home. 2-0 New York. So LaDuca jumps on the first pitch after Reyes' triple, drives in his 37th run of the year, and the Mets have a 2-0 lead.
We talked about it before. LaDuca, when Reyes is not on first, becomes very aggressive on that first pitch, and did it there. It looked like Soriano could have come in and maybe made a play on that, but opted to play it not into a single, but play back on it.
So a Reyes run, a triple, and his 95th run of the year. And here's Carlos Beltran, still nobody out, and he takes a strike from Bergman. Remember, we told you Jason Bergman's never thrown more than 3 innings in a major league game. And now the Mets seeing him second time around the batting order. Beltran singled up the middle his first time up, and he lines one to right center field. Over goes Escobar. He can't get it. It'll roll to the wall. LaDuca around third. He'll score easily. Beltran heading to third. He'll make it standing with a triple and an RBI. 3-0 New York. Ill-advised dive by Escobar. He had no chance to catch that ball, and it winds up scoring a run, and Beltran winds up at third with his first triple of the year.
Well, this ball hit sharply, and Escobar had to notice right there as that ball is running away from him that he never was going to have a chance to make that play. LaDuca read it perfectly. He scores easily, and with that dive, of course, Beltran with the easy triple.
That was a great look at the running style of Paul LaDuca right there. The words are escaping me as I'm trying to describe it.
He was chugging. I tell you that. We do the split screen once in a while. We should put Beltran next to LaDuca to see the different styles.
Paul LaDuca looked like Walter Brennan on wheels going around the bases there. Here's Delgado, and he takes ball 1. Delgado walked his first time up, so the inning began with the hit batsman as Bergman drilled the opposing pitcher. A triple, a single, and a triple later. It's 3-0 New York, and still nobody out. The infield back as Delgado pops it up. Not deep enough to get the run in. Lopez, the shortstop, and that's the first out as Beltran draws the throw. 1 away. A little surprised to see the Nationals play the infield back, already down 3-0.
I am. I think that with a guy like Delgado, who does, they know naturally he's going to pull most pitches. You can bring your infielders in and have 3 on one side. Gives you a chance to maybe keep them run from scoring, but it didn't anyways.
Saul Rivera up in the Washington bullpen. Are they going to keep the infield back with one out with David Wright up? David grounded into a force play his first time up. And he takes low from Bergman. It's amazing that that's Beltran's first triple of the season, isn't it? As healthy as he's been with his speed, especially when you consider Reyes now has 15. Reyes may take a run at Lance Johnson's club record of 21. He still have a chance at it. Two and one to Wright. Beltran had 2 triples last year. He had 10, actually had 12 one season with Kansas City. And Wright goes the other way and fouls it off. And it's 2 and 2. Of course, Beltran's not been at his best lately. He had to sit out day before yesterday because his knees were sore. Hasn't been a whole lot of evidence of that in his game. But that soreness does crop up from time to time. 2-2 to Wright, and he strikes him out with a slider. That's quite a job by Bergman. Beltran was at third with nobody out. He gets Delgado to pop up and Wright to strike out, and now a chance to get through the inning.
You know, those are the. If any criticism from Willie about his offense, he does like when they get in those situations to punch those runners across, but sometimes those come back to haunt you later in the game.
So Valentine trying to pick up Delgado and Wright and get that run in, and he takes the breaking ball for a strike. First curveball we see from Bergman. Valentine struck out his first time up. Changeup for a strike, 0-2. Right field, Kern's right there waiting. And so Bergman able to get the final 3 outs, but the Mets, before he did, were able to push 3 runs across. John Maine took a licking and kept on ticking. Now he'll go back to the mound. We go to the bottom of the third, and we'll check out the Aflac trivia question. Well, the answer to the question, which was who holds the Mets record for most consecutive scoreless innings pitched. For the moment, it's Jerry Koosman, 31 2/3 in 1973. John Maine, at least putting in his bid to try and supplant Koos, and he's got 25 in a row. As Ryan Schneider pops one up, and Reyes retreats. 1 out. So Schneider, who had the big hit for the Nationals last night, pops up, and Maine took a shot in the ribs and then had to sprint 270 feet, and it seemed like much is getting in his way right now.
Semi-sprint, well, whatever you call that he was running across there.
That's his sprint.
It's hard to call anything a sprint when you get to watch both Carlos Beltran and Jose Reyes leg out triples.
Well, we got to watch both Maine and Loduca go 270 feet. Neither one runs like Reyes and Beltran, but they both got the job done. And now he falls behind 3-0 on Bergman. Well, Bergman hit him with a pitch. And now Maine trying to avoid walking Bergman. 3-2. And he struck him out. Came back from 3-0. Third strikeout for John Maine. 2 out and nobody on. And in 2006, Hyundai, the Mets, and SportsNet New York are teaming up to strike out cancer. For every K the Mets pitching staff registers, Hyundai, the Mets, and SportsNet New York will donate $25 to the Hope and Heroes Children's Cancer Fund. If you'd like to help, please go to www.hopeandheroes.org. Alfonso Soriano up for the second time, and he takes a strike. Mets held Soriano in check last night. He went 0 for 4 and struck out a couple of times, and Maine got him on a first pitch ground out tonight. And he gets ahead of him 0-2.
Saw that first pitch ground out he had to open the game, open the inning for Alfonso Soriano. And when I pitch, if a guy swung at the first pitch, his first at bat, made an out, I always assumed he was taking the next time up.
And he strikes him out on 3 pitches. 4th strikeout for John Maine. And the scoreless innings keep on coming. That's 26 in a row. 3-0 New York. 4th inning, Michael Tucker will lead off against Jason Bergman after the Mets struck Bergman for 3 runs in the 3rd. It'll be Tucker, then Lastings, Millage, and John Maine. Tucker struck out his first time up. You know, all of a sudden, with the Mets having the difficulties they're having in the corner outfield spots, somewhat coincidentally, there are some big name outfielders on the market. There were some notes in the paper that the Mets were having talks with the Diamondbacks about Sean Green. Jeff Jenkins all of a sudden has been benched in Milwaukee by Ned Yost. Preston Wilson today was designated for assignment by the Astros. Strike to Tucker, 3-1. So those are all very interesting veteran players who are out there who can be had for probably not a whole lot. The question is, do any of them fit the program?
Yeah, you'd be juggling to figure out which one could come for the Mets for the last month and a half and really do some damage.
Tucker fouls off the curveball. Well, in the case of Jenkins and Green, you've got guys who have contracts beyond this year, who you'd owe a lot of money to if you wanted to make that kind of a commitment. So you'd have to be sure you really wanted them for beyond this season. There's ball 4, and Tucker draws the leadoff walk. In Preston Wilson's case, if I'm not mistaken, he's only signed for this year, right?
Yes, 1-year contract. So I think not only is he the most impressive as far as salary-wise, boy, what a nice story that would be.
Coming home. Could be here in time for the '86 celebration next weekend.
Say hi to his dad.
Of course, Preston began his career as a Met before the Mets traded him in the Mike Piazza deal. Here's Lastings Millage, who grounded out his first time up. And you know Omar, he's got his ear to the ground for all of these possibilities, but it has to be the right fit, both salary-wise and in terms of the role that whoever it is will play on this team. 1-1 to Millage. But so much of it, Ronnie, doesn't it, has to do with this guy right here.
Well, he'll determine that as Willie Randolph keeps a keen eye on Lastings Millage. If he can get to a point where he's a dangerous hitter, which he hasn't yet, Gary, if he can do that, then that answers one of your questions. And if Cliff Floyd can come back healthy, that answers another one of your questions. But those are a lot of ifs.
Right now, Cliff Floyd's down in Port St. Lucie with a boot on his left foot doing nothing. Millage lifts one to left center field. Escobar over. And here's one away. Tucker back to first. So 1 out and 1 on as we check out the Jeep upcoming schedule. Final game of this series tomorrow on the WB11 at 1 o'clock. And then 4 games with the Phillies, 3 night games, and a Thursday afternoon game at Citizens Bank Park before the Mets get home to play the Rockies on Friday night. Rockies? Who are they?
Are they in the league? we haven't seen them, right?
Mets have not played the Rockies yet this season, and Colorado's in the race. I guess just about everybody's in the race. As Maine can't punt the first one, 0-1. Colorado starts today 2.5 games out of the wild card lead. And do you think most baseball fans could name 5 players who play for the Colorado Rockies? Most would probably get Todd Helton and then be hard-pressed to go beyond that as Tucker just falls back in.
Yeah, they're doing it with a lot of young players. They made that decision last year, or really 2 seasons ago, as you see the move by Bergman. Nice quick move. Tucker didn't have a big lead, so probably thought Bergman was going to make a move over there, but they got rid of Castilla 2 years ago and started to clean house to open some positions for some of the young stars.
And Matt Holliday's having a great year for them as Maine again fails to bunt the curveball. Garrett Atkins, the third baseman, is having a terrific year. Jamie Carroll, who played for the Nationals here last year, has been their everyday second baseman, and he's having a terrific year. Getting right around 300. On 0-2, Maine swings and misses. And Maine failing to get the bunt down becomes the 4th strikeout victim for Jason Bergman. But the most interesting story about the Rockies, and the Mets will go to Coors Field on their next road trip, is the fact that now that runs aren't scored in the same volume that they used to, they actually are they have pitchers having good years.
Yeah.
Here's Reyes, who hit his 15th triple of the year his last time up and drove in his 55th run, scored his 95th run. You take the Mets offensive record book and it may be totally rewritten by the time this season is over, as Reyes takes a strike.
Well, you're talking earlier of triples, that Reyes has a chance at that. Lance Johnson at 21. He certainly seems like he's just going to bury the runs scored. Alfonso, I believe, at 123 runs scored.
He certainly has a chance to wipe out his own stolen base record from last year when he had 60. Reyes has 49. Beltran should challenge the Mets RBI record, which is 124. So up and down the line, a lot of marks could fall. And there's a fastball strike, good pitch by Bergman, 0-2.
A lot of older players going to move down a position.
Howard Johnson's record of 80 extra base hits. Beltran already has 63 after his triple tonight. And 2 to Reyes. And Bergman paying a lot of attention to Michael Tucker over at first base.
Sometimes you'll see on an 0-2 pitch to Reyes, your leadoff hitter, Tucker might take off for second. He gets thrown out. That's the worst thing that could happen. Reyes leads off the 5th.
Get him a new turn at bat after an 0-2. Jason Bergman up to 78 pitches on the night. As we mentioned, he made just 4 starts in the minors to prepare for this. So Nationals were awfully happy to get 7 innings out of Billy Traber last night. I'm not sure they expect anything like that from Bergman tonight.
I think Frank Robinson had a couple of comments. They asked him what he thought of Billy Traber's job. He said, "Boy, I didn't expect that from him." Frank always has the comments that are so truthful, from the heart.
Not much of an edit button there. Tucker runs and Reyes hits one to right center, but over goes Kearns, and that ends the inning. So Bergman works around the leadoff walk. John Maine has been the story, though, on the bases, but most importantly on the mound. 26 straight scoreless innings and counting as he goes to the mound for the 4th. We go to the bottom of the 4th here in Washington, wondering whether John Maine will ever give up a run. 3 scoreless innings tonight. He hasn't allowed a hit, and he's now stretched his string to 26 innings without allowing a run. He'll face 2, 3, and 4 in the batting order. Felipe Lopez leads off. He takes a strike. Lopez banked one off Maine's glove, and Valentine threw him out first time up. And Maine just keeps on throwing strikes.
John Maine pitches like he throws 100 miles an hour. Just keeps pumping in those fastballs.
Changeup misses.
It's smart by Leduca. 0-2 pitch. Use the changeup. He's going to throw it in the dirt, but you're still working on it over the course of the game.
Back to the fastball, and Lopez fouls it down the left field line. And you'd have to think that Leduca gets some measure of credit for the way that Maine has continued to attack the hitters. And the breaking ball fouled off.
Good point, Gary. I think that he does a great job. One of his strengths, Paul Leduca, is kind of reading each pitcher he catches, not only within the game, but as far as the game plan. He knows with John Maine, his strength is his fastball, so he wants to use it early and often.
1-2. Lopez fouls off the fastball. Leduca very quickly this year established himself as a very important leadership figure on this team, not just with the pitching staff, but really the entire team. As Lopez fouls off another one. And that goes all the way back to spring training. Remember the game we did in Orlando where Glavine was on the mound against the Braves?
Glavine was on the mound, and he wasn't getting some of the pitches that he should get. Leduca was called out on a pitch.
Rolls it down to Delgado. Maine gets over to cover, and there's one away.
And Leduca fought for his pitcher, and then got thrown out of the game. Fighting balls and strikes, trying to get strikes for his starting pitcher. As you see, cakewalk, walk in the park for John Maine as he just continues to mow down these Washington Nationals.
Well, there you see what some of the big pitching names in Mets history have done. Right at the top of that chart of consecutive scoreless innings, Koosman, Seaver, Gooden. Doesn't get more impressive than that list right there.
Well, certainly Jerry Koosman, not underrated by real Met fans who know how great of a pitcher he was, overshadowed, of course, by Tom Seaver.
2-0 to Zimmerman. But those are the storied heights that John Maine is trying to approach. Those the Mount Rushmore of Mets pitching. 2-1. Zimmerman was trying to end that streak with one swing. He's got 15 home runs in his rookie season. Rookie against rookie. I was startled to read that in the last 36 games for the Nationals, this is the 18th rookie starting pitcher they're facing. 18 of the last 36 games they faced a rookie starting pitcher. Here's a strike 3-2.
Maybe if you have a lot of games against Florida, you're going to see a lot of the rookie pitchers there. They've moved another rookie in there. Sanchez is pitching now. That's, I believe, the pitcher they got from the Red Sox.
They've got 2 rookies in double digits in wins already. Ricky Nolasco, and last night Josh Johnson won his 10th. Johnson has just been marvelous. In fact, you look around this division right now, and all the young talent on all 5 of these teams. Zimmerman breaks his bat and lines one foul. The barrel of the bat sailing past his childhood teammate David Wright. And it's retrieved by Ted Barrett, the third base umpire, and all Zimmerman's left with is a twig. And David's saying, I thought he liked me.
See that fastball just running in on the hand, starting down the middle of the plate, but all that movement, it's been so effective over the streak by John Maine.
Wright didn't know whether to watch the flight of the ball or get out of the way of the barrel of the bat. 3-2 to Zimmerman with 1 out. And he goes the other way, and it's a long way foul. Zimmerman with a long turn at bat here. Maine had thrown only 35 pitches in the first 3 innings, but 16 to the first 2 batters already here in the 4th. 3-2 pitch in the air to right center, playable. Millage, 1 away, 2 away. It's been such a long time since the first out. So 2 out and nobody on for Maine.
You know, they just don't seem to be able to center his fastball. The hitters, for anyone in baseball, reminds me a lot of Sid Fernandez. Not in the way he pitches, of course. Sid was a bottom to top kind of pitcher. As you see, Willie Randolph.
He appeared to be describing John Maine's pitches and how they explode. Here's Nick Johnson, and he takes a strike. Johnson grounded out his first time up. Nick now 0 for 5 in this series. He's had himself a solid year. On base percentage, 5th in the league.
I was saying that Sid Fernandez, who I played with, threw fastball after fastball, and the hitters could just never ever center it. Foul black, foul tips, broken bats. A lot what Maine produces.
City hit the ball so well with that unusual delivery.
Guys would come back to the dugout and they'd see 85 miles an hour. There's no way he's throwing 85.
Murphy used to say it looks like he's pitching uphill. And Maine bounces the breaking ball 2-2 to Johnson.
Sid hit the ball really well, and then he had that curveball. We used to call it the curve that is seldom swung at, because it just took so long to get up there. It was so different from his other pitch.
Throws everybody. 2-2 to Johnson. There's ball 3. So even though he's retired the first 2 hitters and Johnson's in there with 2 out and nobody on, it's been a hard-working inning for Maine. He's already thrown 22 pitches in this inning to the 3 batters. And Johnson gets a hold of one deep to right field. Millage back looking up, and the scoreless streak has come to an end. Nick Johnson with his 18th home run of the year. The Nationals are on the board. And after John Maine dealt 26 consecutive scoreless innings, Johnson ends it with 1 swing. It's now 3-1.
Well, Nick Johnson knows the strike zone about as well as any National League hitter. Got a 3-2 pitch down the middle. And hit this long home run at the upper tank here at RFK.
That's the first hit of the game off John Maine. And the way he had been going, you're stunned that anybody could get a hit, much less hit one of the upper deck against him. So now he must compose himself and get back to work. Facing Austin Kearns. Ugly swing, 1-2. Austin Kearns acquired in that big deal with Cincinnati. Fouls it away. Kearns is a guy that the Reds always waited for to be a star, but injuries seem to curtail him at every turn. And the Nationals are hoping that he can stay healthy and blossom in Washington. Maine strikes him out on the foul tip. That's 5 strikeouts for John Maine. So Maine finally shows a blemish on the Johnson home run, but he's got himself a 2-run lead. We go to the 5th inning. The Mets with a 3-1 lead. John Maine giving up a run for the first time in ages, as Nick Johnson broke it up with a home run. There was nothing cheap about the way that streak ended. Now the Mets will look for some more against Jason Bergman. Paul Lo leads off and takes a strike. And I don't know, as a pitcher, is it more comforting if you have a streak like that to give it up on a bomb as opposed to a couple of bloops and a bleeder?
That doesn't feel good anyway. You want to keep that going.
0-2 to Leduc, who is jumping out of the way and does not agree with the call by Adam Dowdy.
Well, when you see a wonderful streak like that by Maine, as Leduca is arguing that call, you see this pitch by Bergman down in the strike zone, running in Schneider was sitting on the outside corner, reached across. LaDuca thought that was inside and down.
Seen a couple of those tonight by Bergman. As LaDuca pops it up. And Nick Johnson right there. One away. Well, it's a new era for the New York Jets, and Gang Green is getting ready for the new season on their year-round TV home, SportsNet New York. Inside Jets Camp is your weekly pass to Jets training camp at Hofstra. Sunday at 7 p.m. only on SportsNet New York. Beltran already 2 for 2, a single and his first triple of the year. He's driven on a run, and he takes the curveball, ball 1. Beltran now with 98 runs batted in, started the night 4th in the National League. And another curve from Bergman finds the plate, 1-1. Beltran fouls it off. 1-2. Earlier this season, the Mets swept a 3-game series here in Washington, and Beltran hit a couple of shots into the upper deck, right around where Nick Johnson hit his home run off John Maine. 2-2 to Beltran. And it was then that early in the season that you got the idea this was going to be a different kind of year for Carlos Beltran. Grounds this one down to Johnson. And he'll take it himself, 2 away. So 2 out and nobody on. As we check out the Hyundai in-game box score, top of the batting order getting the job done. Triples by Reyes and Beltran. Sandwiched around an RBI single by LaDuca brought the Mets their 3 runs in the 3rd. And Jason Bergman has done a nice job since then. Since the Beltran triple, he's retired 8 of 9. As Delgado steps in with 2 out and takes inside.
And that's really been the case for the Mets since the trade of Nady and Floyd going down. Those 7 and 8 positions for the Mets have not produced a lot in the last couple of weeks.
One thing the Mets had going for them earlier in the year is that there really wasn't a breathing spot in the lineup. Now with Delgado struggling and those other 2 not available, there are a few more breaths for opposing pitchers. Soriano's under this one in left field, and Bergman has himself a 1-2-3 inning. So he's retired 9 of the last 10. Nice comeback by Bergman. Still 3-1 New York.
Steve Berthiaume with the Chevrolet Baseball Night in New York update. Robinson Cano, his 6th home run of the year, and the Yankees went over the Angels. Jarrett Wright threw 5 1/3 of 2-hit ball. Back to RFK.
All right, Steve, and the Red Sox also rallied to win today, beating the Orioles to keep them 2 games back. Boston also trying to pick up ground in the wild card race. Began the day 2 games behind the White Sox. And you get a feeling that that's going to go right down to the final week like it always does. Marlon Anderson takes a strike. Anderson leading off in the bottom of the 5th. John Maine saw his scoreless inning streak stopped at 26, giving up a home run to Nick Johnson in the 4th inning, but working with a 3-1 lead. And Anderson takes a strike, 0-2.
Well, when I left to come to the ballpark today, the Orioles had a 7-3 lead. Not able to hold it. Another rough year for the Orioles. That great franchise just really struggling lately.
Chris Benson started that game for the Orioles, his 2nd start back from the disabled list, and he pitched okay. But the guy standing on the mound, who was part of the trade for Benson, has been, well, he's been an eye-opener. Slap to the left side, and right throws out Anderson, 1 away. So Maine's retired the leadoff hitter in 5 straight innings. 1 out and nobody on. Hey, Met fans, save your stubs. Met Steiner Collectibles will frame your ticket stub from any Mets game along with a piece of Shea Stadium. Call 888-769-METS to find out how. Alex Escobar takes ball one. Escobar struck out his first time up. And Maine throws a fastball by him 1-1. Alex Escobar is still just 26 years old. The Mets signed him when he was 16, and they thought he was a can't-miss prospect. And really everybody in baseball felt the same. Mets put him in the deal that brought Robbie Alomar to New York. Escobar blew out his knee with Cleveland, and he's been injury prone ever since. But again, he's still only 26 years old.
26, but he's been in pro ball for 10 years. So they've seen him a lot. It's hard to judge a guy when he continually gets hurt, because you have to have the ability to play season after season, game after game, to show what you can do.
It's funny with those can't-miss five-tool players. Mets have had a couple of them right around the same time. Before they had Escobar, they had Alex Ochoa, who they thought was a can't-miss player. And Maine strikes out Escobar. That's 6 strikeouts now for Maine, just one shy of his career high. 2 out and nobody on. Chris Connor's in the yard. Where are you, Chris?
Hey, I'm down here by the Mets dugout, and we've received a couple of emails here, a few emails over the last 24 hours, asking us what the players do with those Negro League throwback uniforms that they wore last night. And the Mets wore the New York Cubans uniforms. And I spoke to equipment manager Charlie Samuel, and he told me that the players get to keep them. Now, if it was at home, they'd have 2 sets made up, one that the players would sign and they'd auction off for charity, and the other one that the players would keep. Here they just have 1 set. So I asked some of the players whether they liked it, whether they wanted to keep them or not. And, I got varied responses. Some of the players said, I have some from previous games, like Jose Valentin has a Seattle Pilots, one that he got from the Milwaukee Brewers when he was in Milwaukee. So some of them were a little indifferent. But I talked to Jose Reyes. He really wants to keep it. And Darren Oliver said his father called him last night when he saw him wearing it and said, I want one of those jerseys. So Darren was really happy that Bob Oliver, who of course is a former major leaguer, will get to have that New York Cubans jersey that he wore last night.
All right, Chris. Well, considering the lack of success the Mets have had wearing the New York Cubans jerseys 2 years ago in Kansas City and last night, you would think what they want to do with those throwback uniforms is throw them back.
Yeah.
2-2 to Schneider.
I have a couple at home myself that I've kept. The Oakland Oaks I wore when I was in Oakland. I've kept the jerseys. And at the time that I wore them, there was none of that vintage jersey stuff that you have now. So I've kept them, and I know my oldest son has worn them occasionally.
To second base on one hop. Valentin stays right with it and throws out Schneider. So Maine, after giving up the home run in the 4th, bounces right back with a 1-2-3 inning in the 5th. Through 5, 3-1 New York. New pitcher for the Nationals. This call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon Wireless. You too can make the switch over to the most reliable network, Verizon Wireless. Travis Hughes, the new pitcher for the Nationals.
Well, he came over from Texas to the Nationals last season. Only appeared in 14 games. See his ERAs since coming up from New Orleans. Travis Hughes is the stopper down in New Orleans. Pitches in the middle relief here. Throws a good fastball, overhand curveball, slider, and a changeup. He's one of those guys, kind of like Keith Bell, that they go down to AAA, they close for their respective teams, dominate at times, and then sometimes it doesn't always translate coming up to the major leagues.
He was a starter in the Texas system. Moved to the bullpen a couple of years ago. And now trying to forge himself a role with a Washington team that has been very reliant on really just 2 relief pitchers this season in John Roush and Chad Cordero. And Wright greets him with a long drive to right center. And that's an extra base hit for David Wright. And he'll cruise into second base with his 30th double of the year. So a rude greeting for Travis Hughes.
Well, the Mets seem to have a magnet for this right center field gap. So that's the third ball that's been in that gap all the way to the wall, right in for a double. Good start for the Mets here in the 5th inning.
And you know what? Watching these last 2 games with Alex Escobar in center field, this is a huge center field. You really need to have a lot of speed to cover ground out there, and I'm not sure that Escobar has the speed to really do that.
Great point, Gary. I've seen it here last season. This just, you need a Andy Chavez, you need a Carlos Beltran, someone who can run out there to try to close those gaps.
It's Valentin looking to move right, and he takes ball 1. Time for the Best of Barbados vacation getaway. If a Met hits a home run, one grand prize winner will win an all-expense-paid trip to the Almond Beach Village Resort in Barbados. If you're a contestant, visit sny.tv/Barbados today. It seems like center field has been an open question for the Nationals since they got here last year.
Last year in spring training, they wanted Andy Chavez to win that job. He didn't, and wanted him to be the leadoff hitter. He didn't, so Brad Wilkerson ended up playing center field a lot last season and leading off of these Nationals team.
This year they had Brandon Watson playing there to start the season. Valentin will move right over to third as Anderson uses his odd throwing motion to get Valentin. And so the Mets have a runner at third with 1 out. Wright and Zimmerman recalling their travel team days. Right, maybe giving it to Zimmerman for that broken bat that he sent his way earlier in the game. Would you have loved to have been an opponent of that team?
No.
Infield in for Michael Tucker.
That sounds like a lot of beatings they were giving to other teams.
An infield with David Wright, Ryan Zimmerman, and was it BJ or Justin Upton that was on that team? One of them. Justin, I think. The younger of the 2 Upton brothers. All from that Norfolk, Virginia Beach area. 2-0 to Tucker.
Well, this is important at bat. In the 3rd inning, they had Beltran on 3rd, no outs. We're not able to get him in. Here with Tucker up, got to get right in to extend that lead, to get that run back from that home run from Nick Johnson.
Tucker has struck out and walked tonight. The outfield playing very shallow against Mike. And he takes a slider for a strike. Hit 6 home runs at Norfolk this year, so he still has a little bit of pop. But they're playing him like a slap left field hitter.
They're playing him so shallow it should hurt his feelings. That's how shallow they're playing him.
Well, maybe that's the intent. Soriano playing a little deeper to the off field than you might expect, considering where the other 2 are. And there's ball 4, and so Tucker draws the walk, and I'm not sure what the intent was by Travis Hughes, but he does set up the double play possibility now, although with Lastings Millage coming up, a tough man to double up. And Randy St. Clair, the pitching coach, will head out to the mound as Frank Robinson looks on. Travis Hughes is a massive guy.
Yeah, he's got a couple of guys out there. We saw last night's ball game, John Roush. He's 6'11".
Hughes is listed at 6'5", 235. That may be an underestimation. Well, the Dodgers keep rolling. That's 14 wins in their last 15 games as we check out the Toyota National League scoreboard. Brewers leading in Atlanta. We mentioned earlier Ned Yost benching Jeff Jenkins for the foreseeable future. San Diego leading at Houston. The Astros have won 4 straight. They're just a game and a half back in that wild card chase. Pittsburgh on a Freddie Sanchez RBI single leading St. Louis. Sanchez leading the league in hitting as Millage takes a strike. Lastings just 1 for his last 12, sending that batting average down to 214. First and third and 1 out. And the slider misses. 1-1.
1 for 12, Gary, but these are the kind of at bats that he can really impress his manager. Be patient, maybe try to hit the ball the other way. Somehow, some way, got to get this run in.
Chops it off the plate. That'll get a run in. Zimmerman has no play, and it's 4-1 New York. Well, Millage hit it down off the plate, and by the time it came down in Zimmerman's glove, he had himself an infield hit and an RBI.
Well, he hits this slider straight onto the plate, and once it got up that high, Zimmerman tried to call off Hughes to maybe have a play, but no way even for the good fielding third baseman.
So that's the kind of hit that can get you going. And Millage certainly hopes it does. Every time he can hit the ball on the ground, just like with Chavez and with Reyes, and Millage may have some more power down the road, but these guys are so fast that if they hit the ball on the ground, good things can happen.
Got to be line drives, stuff on the ground, nothing in the air.
Well, here's Maine up there to bunt. Couldn't do it his last time up, and he fouls this one off. Maine got drilled in the ribs by a pitch leading off the third, and that started the Mets' 3-run inning.
Might be thinking about that because he looked like he had a little fear as he was squaring around the bunt. You can see Willie Randolph talking about his bunting technique, and he's not too happy with it. He's going to have to work on it. Got to bend your knees. Got to get the bat out in front of the plate.
Johnson coming in very close from first, and Maine bunts it right to him, but Johnson bobbles it. That loses the play at third, and so the sacrifice winds up being successful. Well, Johnson did everything right except pick the ball up cleanly.
Although I think that ball was bunted hard enough that he could have used his glove and had plenty of time to go to third base. See the bat? Let's see if he stays in front. Yeah, he stayed in front of the plate. Bunted hard enough, though, that he could have used his glove. Johnson wanted to try to make a spectacular play and almost ended up not even getting an out.
So the Mets wind up with runners at second and third, and now Jose Reyes will be intentionally walked. And there's one number that jumped out at me today off the stat page. Jose Reyes, among all the Mets, has the best batting average with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. 408. Well, he won't get the chance here, as Hughes will intentionally walk him. So it'll be up to Paul Loduca with the bases loaded and 2 out to try and produce some more runs for John Maine, who finally gave up a run tonight in the 4th inning, but has himself a 4-1 lead. That led to Reyes' walk total. So I was about to say it'll look good in arbitration, but he never has to go to arbitration. So here's Loduca, who's 1 for 3, drove in a run with a 3rd inning single. Tucker at third, Millage at second, Reyes at first, and 2 down. 4-1 New York, 6th inning. And first pitch fastball, and Loduca swings through it. A few more swings and misses from Loduca lately.
That tells me that his swing is a little bigger.
Again, he grimaces after that missed swing, and you assume that's all about that thumb that's been bothering him for months now.
But you notice those big swings usually come early in the count, usually maybe the first pitch, trying to maybe get an extra base hit, and then after that, back to the same Loduca, short, compact swing.
To second right, at Anderson's side, retired. He hit a bullet, but Marlon Anderson grabbed it, and so the Mets get just the 1 run on the infield chopper by Millage to make it 4-1. Well, you may have heard that this September the WB11 is changing into the new CW11. So what does that mean to fans of the WB11 news? Well, the name of the station may be changing, but the CW11 will still be the place to find your favorite news shows in the morning and at night. Pedro Martinez won't pitch until Monday in Philadelphia, so he has plenty of time to stay loose with El Duque.
Starting pitchers will never change. Got plenty to talk about in between their starts.
Bernie Castro pinch hitting for the Nationals up the middle. Reyes with the diving stop, but he'll never throw him out. Castro runs very well, and that's the first hit of the season for Bernie Castro. So Castro pinch hitting for Travis Hughes has himself an infield hit. We check out the Lincoln Mercury pitching lines. John Maine, another stellar outing, even though he finally has given up a run tonight. And Jason Bergman turned in 5 solid innings in his first start of the season for the Nationals. So a leadoff base runner for Washington for the first time in the game. And here's Soriano, 0 for 2 tonight, and he hits one deep to center. Beltan way back near the wall. That ball is out of here. Alfonso Soriano with his 37th home run of the year, a 2-run shot, and the Nationals are right back in this game. It's 4-3 New York. What a season Alfonso Soriano is putting together. In a ballpark where last year nobody hit home runs.
No one hit home runs, and everyone complained about the conditions here at RFK, including the players on the Nationals team. But first pitch hitting gets a fastball out over the plate, and that is where you cannot pitch Soriano. You can pitch him in, you can pitch him down, but not out over the middle of the plate.
So now John Maine has just a 1-run lead as Felipe Lopez takes a strike. Second home run off Maine tonight. Johnson homered in the 4th to break his scoreless streak, and now Soriano with his 37th of the year. 2-1 to Lopez. Line base hit. 3 straight hits off Maine to start the 6th inning. And now the tying run aboard with Lopez, with Zimmerman coming up.
Well, you see Rick Peterson getting on the phone. Paul LaDuca going out to talk to Maine. 1 to settle him down. 2 to get the bullpen a little more time to get someone ready. As Chad Bradford, as it usually is, getting him up in a hurry.
Well, Maine, despite giving up the Nick Johnson home run, was cruising coming into this 6th inning. He had retired the side easily, 1-2-3 in the 5th. But Bernie Castro igniting the inning with an infield hit as a pinch hitter, and then Soriano hitting a long 2-run homer. And now with Lopez aboard as the tying run, Rick Peterson wants to go out and take John Maine's temperature.
Well, it happened so quickly. Castro with the infield hit. That was good pitching by Maine. Didn't happen. Runner on first. First pitch to Soriano, and as he's done all year long, 37 home runs. Peterson does more talking when he comes out to talk to his pitchers than any relief pitching coach, that I've ever seen. Most of them will come out and say a few things so you can concentrate on them, but he really is very verbal when he comes to talk to his pitchers.
Would you have liked that?
No. Yeah, I would not have liked that. I think that it's hard enough out there in the middle of battle, worried about getting outs. It's hard to take in all that information.
What you want are 1 or 2 keys.
I want front shoulders flying open. Need to mix in more breaking pitches, things like that. Those would have helped me. A lot of information would have went in one ear and out the other, just because you're in the middle of competition.
Lopez, the base runner, he's a stolen base threat, and Maine checks in on him.
You know, your heart rate's up, Gary. You're angry. You know, all those emotions are kicking in, and for me, I'm trying to get rid of those emotions, trying to get back, level-headed, thinking about strike one, trying to get outs.
Sometimes maybe all you need is a, so where are you going for dinner tonight?
That's like that Joe Montana story, right? Right before the drive in the Super Bowl against Cincinnati, he told all of his linemen, he said, hey, I think that's John Candy.
Lopez runs. LaDuca throws on the money. Safe. Close play. Lopez with his 31st stolen base. And the tying run in scoring position with nobody out.
Well, they might be in last place, but you got to like the aggressiveness with which these Nationals play. They did last year, and they're doing it again this year. Lopez just getting underneath that tag with that left hand. Couldn't do it any better than LaDuca got it. He got it there in a hurry and very angry. He thought he had got him on that one.
It was a lovely reverse pirouette. And now Maine ahead on Zimmerman, 1-2. Soccer player's move that LaDuca just made, because he was a terrific soccer player as a teenager. Zimmerman 0 for 2 tonight. And he looks one to right center. Lopez will tag at second, but it's not very deep. And Lopez will go nowhere as Beltan misses the cutoff man. That was dangerous, but Wright was able to save it. 1 out. Once in a while, Beltan will do that.
To tell you the truth, it seems to happen more when he's just trying to make a throw into the infield. When he tries to really let it go, it's usually pretty accurate. But he knows that Lopez is not going to go there. So he takes a little off it, and it sails on him.
Fortunately, not only did Wright catch it, but Maine was in the right place right behind him. Here comes Willie Randolph, and that's going to be all for Maine. After giving up 3 straight hits and getting Zimmerman on the fly ball, rather than having pitched to Nick Johnson, who took him deep last time, Willie will come and get Maine after 5 1/3 innings. Well, he was not perfect tonight by any means, but John Maine will leave with the lead here in the bottom of the 6th inning. And the bullpen will try and pick him up. Now on Mets.com, you can download the MLB.TV Mosaic, and with it you can watch up to 6 games simultaneously on one screen. I know that's what Keith Hernandez is doing tonight. And that includes out-of-market Mets games. It's the highest quality video of live baseball you can watch on the internet. Check it out at Mets.com. I believe we'll see Keith in Philadelphia.
Yes, well, you will. I will not. I will be back in New York.
John Maine getting congratulations after his outing tonight. He leaves with a 4-3 lead. 89 pitches for Maine. And Willie went and grabbed him before he faced Nick Johnson, who homered against him last time up and went in favor of Pedro Feliciano.
Well, I like that move a lot. I like Feliciano just coming in here, trying to retire Johnson, especially after his last at bat. He hit a home run off Maine.
Tying run at second with 1 out. And a breaking ball strike to Johnson. Johnson's home run was his 18th of the year, one of 2 that Maine gave up tonight. The second one coming from Soriano here in the 6th. Another breaking ball blooped, and that's a base hit. Lopez around third, and he'll score the tying run. 4-4. Nick Johnson drives in his 2nd run of the night. Inherited runners have been a problem for Feliciano this year.
Well, the first pitch slider was flat, so was this one. Yes, he got it off the end of the bat, but that usually has a little more tilt for Feliciano against those left-handers. Nick Johnson, of course, one of those left-handers who stays in well against left-handed pitching.
The 12th to score among inherited runners against Feliciano this year. 12 out of 24. Here's Austin Kearns, and he takes a strike. Kearns has been up twice, struck out twice against Maine. So John Maine can't win it, he can't lose it. It's in the hands of the bullpen now. Jason Bergman taken off the hook. It's had a 4-1 lead, but it's gotten away here in the 6th.
Well, you're describing that number, Gary. 12 out of 24, 50%. You want that number more around 75, 80% is.
And Kearns pops it up. A lot of room and foul ground. Delgado, can he get there? And he does. Among all the ballparks in the National League, this is the one, I think, that has the most foul ground in which to roam.
I would say this one in the National League, Oakland probably in the American League are the two ballparks that make hitters angry, because those ones are usually give them a little more life. Those are usually souvenirs, but not here in RFK.
The only other one in the National League that would compare would be Dodger Stadium.
And they've taken a lot of that foul territory away with new seating in Dodger Stadium.
So 2 out. Johnson still at first, and here's Marlon Anderson. Anderson's walked and grounded out 0 for 1. Wright comes wheeling on the grass at third. And it's ball 1 to Marlon. Think of Anderson as a guy who's going to bunt for hits all that often.
Especially in this situation. The game's tied. Anderson does have some pop. Try to drive Johnson in with an extra base hit.
Last year, Willie gave Marlon Anderson very few at-bats against lefties. And that one gets away. And down to second goes Johnson with the go-ahead run. Wild pitch charge to Feliciano. And that moves that go-ahead run into scoring position.
Well, he's trying to get a little more in the slider, a little more sweep on it, and there's no chance for the Duca to catch that one.
Now Wright is backed up at third. If you bunt in this situation, it's a bad play. And breaking ball in for a strike. Anytime you have a runner at second and 2 out, if you try to bunt for a hit, even if you're successful, all you're doing is saying, I'm moving up to the next guy.
Yeah, I don't think I can drive him in. So Alex Escobar, you're on deck. You drive him in.
Mr. Travis crazy watching Robbie Allen do that.
Well, it can be seen as, and I would see it like this, as a selfish play. That you are just trying to pad your average, your batting average, instead of win ball games.
Johnson at second and 2 down. 2-2 to Anderson. Down to first. Delgado plays the big hop. And he just beats Anderson to the bag. Probably would have been better off flipping that, but he gets the out to end the inning. However, the Nationals helped out by Alfonso Soriano's 37th of the year and have tied up the ball game as we go to the 7th in Washington.
Steve Berthiaume with your Chevrolet Baseball Night in New York update. The White Sox and Tigers tied up in the 7th. Sandy Alomar Jr. the sac fly. The White Sox win 4-3. Tigers have lost 4 in a row. Detroit's division lead down to 6.5. What about the Twins in the wild card race in the American League? They were hosting the Blue Jays tonight. Top 3. Reed Johnson, a 2-run shot, is 9th of the year. And it's 3-0 Toronto, in Minnesota. Back to RFK, Gary and Ron.
So the wild card staying tight in the American League. It's even tighter in the National League, where starting play today there were 10 teams within 5 games of the wild card lead. Rookie right-hander Chris Schroeder takes over the pitching for the Nationals as we go to the 7th.
Well, the Oklahoma native has a very deceptive fastball. He kind of slings it up there, 3/4 style, a little bit like Aaron Heilman, but not the push-off of Heilman. Has a little slider and a changeup also.
Part of the batting order for the Mets in the 7th. Beltran, Delgado, and Wright against Schroeder. Just his second big league outing, and Beltran slicing one away from Escobar. That's a base hit, and it rolls to the wall. Beltran to second. He'll pull in there with a double. Beltran with a single, double, and triple tonight. And the Mets fighting right back after the Nationals tied. Have the lead run in scoring position with nobody out. Well, the Mets have taken advantage of the gaps here at RFK tonight.
Well, the way that Beltran hit that ball, he kind of inside-outed it with his swing, and that ball kept just drifting away from Escobar. Escobar thought he had a chance to catch it early, but that ball just got away from him.
So Beltran with a big night. 2 more extra base hits tonight. He now has 64 for the year as he bears down on the Mets club record of 80 set by Howard Johnson. By the way, if you missed it last night, Hojo is back in the Mets' good graces. It will be at the 20th anniversary celebration at Shea next weekend. So here's Delgado looking to get Beltran in with the go-ahead run. Delgado 0 for 2 and a walk tonight. Fouls off the first offering from Schroeder at 91 miles an hour.
This has really been the Achilles heel for the Nationals. This part of the game with a lot of these new pitchers from New Orleans. Schroeder in New Orleans this year, 28 games. Opponents are only batting 125 off him, but I don't think there's ever been a time more when statistics in AAA do not match up with the statistics coming up to the big leagues.
Well, we see that time and time again, don't we? Delgado foul tips one into Schneider's glove, 0-2.
The reason I think that it is now, that discrepancy, is that if you can play, you're in the big leagues. So the AAA guys that are really can play are already here. The guys in AAA are guys that have been forced up there probably too early. You should maybe be in AA or single A.
Well, also you got a lot of retreads in AAA as well. Like a holding tank. Delgado up the middle, but that's right where the shortstop's playing. Lopez took a look at third, but he wasn't going to get Beltran with his speed. So that serves to advance the runner. Against a conventional defense, that's a base hit. Almost turned into an out at third if Beltran weren't so fast.
Well, it was hit so hard that he had a play by the speed, but could not go to third because Zimmerman is way off the third base bag. So Lopez would have to turn into a quarterback and hit Zimmerman on the run to try to get Beltran at third.
So the Mets got a runner to third with one out.
Beltran sees Zimmerman running the third as he's going. There's no chance. That was a smart play by Lopez to just get the out.
So now David Wright will try and get that run in from third. The infield comes in. David 1 for 3, doubled his last time up. 86 RBIs, 6th in the league. And he swings at Schroeder's first pitch and fouls it off.
Well, this is why Rick Down and his staff spend endless hours in spring training working over situational hitting with their hitters over and over and over again.
Well, how about the fact that you've got a pitcher that none of these Mets hitters have seen before, and all 3 hitters in this inning have swung at the first pitch?
Well, that tells me that his out pitch is his slider, his swing and miss pitch is his slider, so they want to get to that fastball first.
And Wright takes the fastball in tight, 1-1.
And also, at none other time than now, with the computers and everyone on disc, do you see opposing pitchers as well as you do now.
The second major league outing for Chris Schroeder. Been in the Expos Nationals organization since 01. And he hit him. Wright got nicked by the pitch, and he goes to first base. Second mid hitter to be plunked tonight. Jason Bergman hit John Maine back in the third.
You know, Gary, this is the thing you see more with young pitchers than you've ever seen before, is their inability to pitch inside. Schneider wants that ball in the inside corner, and it runs up and in on Wright. That puts the Nationals and Schroeder in lots of trouble and gives the Mets a chance to open up a big inning.
Probably isn't the worst result for Schroeder in that he doesn't deal with Wright, and now he has the double play possibility with Beltan as Randy St. Clair takes a trip to the mound. Not to say he meant to hit Wright, only that this isn't the worst possible situation for him.
He had a strike on him, though, had an advantage. Wanted to go after Wright.
Bernie Castro, you see there, now playing second base for the Nationals. As Marlon Anderson, who made the final out in the 6th, came out of the game. Castro pinch hit and got the rally started for the Nationals in the 6th. Look who's here.
He gets a high five.
I want to know how he fits that head onto the train to get down here to D.C. How does that head make it down here? He had to drive in his convertible. I don't know how he sees the road, but nice to have you here, mister. Beltan takes ball 1. Beltan 0 for 3 tonight, 0 for 6 in this series. Trying to get Beltran home from third with the lead run. Wright is at first. watches wide, and now it's 2-0.
You know, saying about this arm action from Schroeder, very difficult to pick up if you're a right-handed hitter. Much easier to see if you're a left-handed hitter. Reason being that ball kind of runs away from him up in the strike zone, doesn't bore in on you like a hard sinker or like the ball that hit right.
2-0 to Beltan. Got the fastball, but swung through it. 2-1. Schroeder was not in spring training with the Nationals, so Frank Robinson has not seen much of him. But right now it's kind of like an audition camp in that Nationals bullpen. On 2-1, Beltan rips one foul. Got out ahead of it and pulled the slider foul. 2-2. Well, the Nationals have sent 3 pitchers to the mound tonight, all relatively untested rookies, and they're right in the game. And the fake to third, and Wright was in field.
And these are the kind of teams you have to watch that the Mets are going to play the rest of the season. These guys that are having audition camps, trying to find out who is going to have a better chance of spring training next year.
2-2 to Beltan. He missed badly. 3-2. So you would figure that Wright would be running here to try and stay out of the double play. So it's up to Beltan to make sure he puts the ball in play. Just trying to get Beltran in from third in a 4-4 game in the 7th. Wright runs, popped up foul, coming back and out of play. Six-year-old Jose Beltan facing young Chris Schroeder in just his second big league game. Wright gets set to run with 1 out. Fouled again. That's the hardest fastball we've seen from Schroeder, and Beltan fouled it off.
Well, he's going right after Beltan with fastballs. That's the second one in a row here on this 3-2 count. We'll see if he decides to maybe fool Beltan with that changeup.
Last time he tried to throw the changeup, though, he missed by 3 feet. Fake to third and trying to get Wright to go on first movement, but David's not going to fall for that.
Well, you saw the sign. That's a pretty ingenious sign by Brian Schneider. The forefinger and the pinky down. That means fake to third, go to first.
That makes sense. Double directional look.
Fastball away again.
3-2 to Beltan. Fouled it again. That's 3 in a row he's fouled off on 3-2, and so Wright doing his wind sprints. He's already had a broken bat sail his way.
We had earlier in the week, Maglio Ordonez for the Detroit Tigers had the similar situation and brought Jim Leland to start cracking up in the dugout because it happened 4 or 5 times that Ordonez had to go on a 3-2 count.
This will be the 9th pitch of the at bat to Beltan. And right back. because, you know, you've got first and third, but it's almost like there is no double play situation. So you got to be thinking strikeout or pop up.
To tell you the truth, I never really liked throwing over there because you know he's going to go anyways. He's not going to get a good jump because he has to wait till you go. So concentrate on the hitter.
Beltan waiting. Right runs. Bloop, shallow right field. Coming in, Kearns, base hit. And the Mets regain the lead. Wright goes first to third. Beltan with the RBI single. 5-4 New York.
Just another fine at-bat in a fine year by Jose Beltan. Gets another fastball, gets jammed a little by the pitch. See Austin Kearns trying to disguise that, thinking that he's going to make the catch, and Beltan happy about that at-bat.
A little emotion from Beltan as he drives in his 48th run of the year. A terrific time at bat, and David Wright going on the pitch never hesitated despite the deke by Kearns and went first to third. So another chance for a fly ball to score a run as Michael Tucker steps in. Tucker has walked twice and he's struck out, and he hits one foul. 0-1. Now Carlos Beltran swung at the first pitch he saw from Chris Schroeder and doubled to the gap in left center. Delgado moved him up with a ground out. Wright was hit by a pitch, and Beltan with a 9-pitch at bat dumped a base hit into right to give the Mets the lead. Tucker lefts one to left center. That'll get a run in as Wright tags at third. Soriano makes the catch. Wright heads home. Cut off by Zimmerman. Throw to second. Safe. Well, the Nationals thought they had gotten Beltan, but he slides in safely. Sacrifice fly for Tucker as Wright comes home to make it 6-4 New York.
What a great job of situational hitting by the New York Mets and Michael Tucker. Those 19 assists. Soriano hits the cutoff man Zimmerman. He throws it to second baseman Castro. But tough position for Laz Diaz on this play at second base. Soriano makes the play, does the job of throwing it through the cutoff man. Zimmerman comes up and gets it, relays it to second base, and you see where Diaz is? He's behind the play. Hard for him to see that play.
I've seen a couple of throws by Soriano where he throws almost sidearm, like he's still in infield.
Like he's turning a double play.
Millage drove in a run with a chopper off home plate his last time up. Now trying to pick up Beltan from second, and he takes a strike. 0-2. Mets have 2 runs home here in the 7th. They had a 4-1 lead. The Nationals tied it against John Maine in the 6th. The Mets have bounced right back against the Washington bullpen to pick up 2 and regain the lead. Now Millage trying to keep it going with 2 out. Fouls went off Schneider. That took quite a kangaroo bounce. Schneider making that hockey mask out of.
Kryptonite, right?
Jeez.
You know, he got the idea for that mask from an old Met, Charlie O'Brien, who started wearing those masks. Goalie mask.
Millage foul tips it into the middle. Schneider strike 3. Millage says it hit his hand. Adam Dowdy says no. But the Mets played a couple of runs in the 7th to regain the lead. 6-4. The Mets and Nationals, game 2 of the series. John Maine, who hadn't allowed a run in forever, threw 3 scoreless innings to start this one. Abe's the one, and then the Mets teed off on Jason Bergman. Mets now with a 6-4 lead as we start the bottom of the 7th. Alex Escobar leads off against Pedro Feliciano, who's now pitcher of record on the long side. Never thought that was very fair. Guy gives up the hit to tie up the ball game. Then you get him a couple of runs, and all of a sudden it's his game to win.
Well, relievers always say it evens out. So
it doesn't.
It doesn't at all.
That's why wins and losses for relievers, to me, mean nothing. Less than nothing.
Yeah.
Escobar has struck out twice tonight.
Think about it this way: if you're a closer, is 8-1, probably had a bad year.
Bad year. If you get wins, that means you're blowing saves. Used to call that being a vulture, swooping in to get the win. That led to Phil Regan getting that nickname. He won 14 games one year for the Dodgers out of the bullpen. 1-2 to Escobar.
In the 80s, the Mets had a rubber vulture that would adorn the reliever's locker for one whole day after he would get a win like that.
Perfect. So Roger McDowell had that around quite a bit.
He did, although in his defense, Roger pitched a lot of 2- and 3-inning kind of stints that year.
Back to the mound. And Feliciano tosses out Escobar one away. Let's check out the AOL game summary. John Maine charged with 4 runs tonight. He'll get a no decision. Gave up the home runs to Johnson and Soriano. Carlos Beltran with a big night. Single, double, triple. Soriano with his 37th. And the Mets with 2 in the 7th for a 6-4 lead. As Willie Randolph tries to get his team even in this series. Rubber game, he hopes, tomorrow. Steve Traxel against Tony Armas. Willie Wagner just checking out who's coming up. The 7th inning, he's figuring, okay, if they get him 1, 2, 3 here and maybe give up 1 hit, who's likely to be coming up in the 9th? Who's on the bench to pitch hit?
Yes, that's even more important, I think. He knows the everyday players who's going to be in there. He knows that Zimmerman's going to be a tough out. Nick Johnson's a tough out. Soriano, of course, but wants to see how many right-handed and left-handed bats off the bench.
Schneider lunging for the breaking ball, keeps the event alive. Okay, so he looks at the right side, and he sees that the Nationals have on their bench Damian Jackson, who he's probably seen before, and Brandon Harper, the backup catcher, who guaranteed he's never seen before.
The 30-year-old rookie catcher.
He's looking at the name Harper. He's saying, Harper? Tommy?
Tommy Harper, Terry Harper,
Brett?
Brian Harper.
1-2 to Schneider as he held up the swing to the satisfaction of Ted Barrett. Schneider's had a rough year, but he's been swinging the bat better lately. He had that 2-run double off Glavine last night. 5-game hitting streak starting tonight. He's gone 0 for 2 in this game. Pulls it down to first. Nice play by Delgado, and he hits Feliciano, 2 men down.
Oh, that was a fine play by Carlos Delgado. He had to go a long way to get that ball. Just got it in the middle of the glove. Sharply hit 2 down that first base line. Nice play, fully stretched out, and then with that quick, accurate throw to Feliciano.
And knew that he had time to set his feet with Schneider running. So 2 out and nobody on. Now Bernie Castro will bat for the 2nd time. Castro got the Nationals ignited with an infield single as a pinch hitter in the 6th. Stayed in the game at second base. Thinks about a bunt, takes a strike. Castro played a little bit up at .995 with the Orioles last year. He's had just 7 at bats now with the Nationals. Look at him choking up on that bat. It's like Felix Millan. Speaking of Castro, a slow road back for Ramon Castro. He's down in Port St. Lucie. He has not yet taken any batting practice coming back from that oblique strain, so it looks like it's going to be a little while longer. So we may well see Mike DeFelice catching again tomorrow.
I was going to say, DeFelice doesn't have any problems with that.
Two and 1 to Castro. Check swing, foul ball.
pieces. Like, take your time, Ramon. Make sure that it's 100%.
Now he figures if Ramon isn't healthy by September 1st, then the Mets will keep both of them around.
That's right.
Well, life as a fringe player. On the outside corner, strike 3 called. Feliciano backdooring the breaking ball to Castro. So after giving up the game-tying hit, Feliciano's retired 5 in a row, and he's got a 6-4 lead. A lot of Met fans in town here in our nation's capital for the weekend for baseball and sightseeing. And to get your SportsNet New York on the web, make your homepage SNY.TV, the online home of all things New York sports. It's also where you can submit your questions to Dodge's Ask the Booth. Brad from Port Washington wants to know, guys, I guess that's you and me, if the playoffs started tomorrow, what do you think would be the Mets starting rotation? That's an interesting one.
Well, I think for me, if it started tomorrow, because John Maine pitched tonight and he has a chance to show what stuff he can do the rest of the season. That guy right there is number 1. Pedro Martinez, he gets the ball in the first game.
Andy Chavez batting for Pedro Feliciano takes ball 1 from Saul Rivera, the new Washington pitcher.
And I think it's pretty easy. Glavin's number 2. But my guy in the number 3 position, right now, it would be El Duque. Just because the way he's pitched, how he's pitched in the postseason before. And he has great timing also. One of those guys that when the stage is biggest, he shines the brightest.
Two 2-0 to Endy. And the former National takes a strike, 2-1.
Well, Saul Rivera pitching for the Nationals, pitching in his 30th game. Really, the reliever they missed the most is Luis Ayala, who pitched for Mexico in the World Baseball Classic.
Chavez lines out to Lopez, 1 away.
And he ended last season with a sore elbow. Pitched in the World Baseball Classic and it became worse, had to have an operation, and he was the guy, the bridge, a great bridge for Frank Robinson and his team to Chad Cordero. They're missing him this year.
Last year the Nationals played so many one-run games, both during their very successful first half and then during their less successful second half, and it seemed as though those guys, Cordero and Ayala, were in the game every day. And you always wonder how that's going to affect pitchers the next year. Reyes has tripled in 3 at-bats.
That's why I think it's nice to have pitchers who say they want the ball every day, but it is paramount for a team that the manager and his coaching staff monitor and take care of those relief pitchers, because you want them to be around. The relief pitching right now is tantamount to you winning. You want those guys around 4, 5, 6 years.
Reyes chases the changeup, and it's 1-2. Slap past the mound. Lopez knows he has to hurry. He throws on Reyes, 2 away. That may be an out, but you love that out by Reyes.
One time you don't like the outs he makes is when he hits a pop-up or a lazy fly ball. Anything hard on the ground always gives him a chance for a hit. Even this play right here, this would be standard, easy play. If anyone else was running, Reyes running, Lopez has to hurry, things can happen.
So 2 out and nobody on. Here's Loduca. 1 for 4, drove in a run with a 3rd inning single. And he drops down a bunt. See that often from Loduca. Rivera throws him out. So a 1-2-3 inning for Saul Rivera. 6-4 New York as we go to the bottom of the 8th.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Sterling Mats and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Sterling Mats.
Andy Chavez, who pinch hits, stays in the game in right field for New York as Lasting's Millage comes out. And Mr. Eighth Inning, Aaron Heilman takes over the pitching.
Well, he sees this going to be his 54th game, getting a lot of work for the Mets, and now pitching those very important innings, that 8th inning to bridge the game to Wagner.
They'll take on the top of the batting order. That means Alfonso Soriano. Last time up in the 6th inning, he provided our Coors Light cold blast, and it was a blast. Number 37 for Soriano. That got the Nationals within a run. They tied it up. Mets regained the lead in the 7th. That's where we are. 6-4 New York, bottom of the 8th, and Soriano swings over the changeup to start the last of the 8th inning.
You usually don't start a hitter with your first pitch with a changeup, but great time to do it because Alfonso Soriano is such a free swinger, and the last time up on his first pitch, which was a fastball, he hit a home run.
You know, you talked about how Soriano doesn't change his style for any situation, and here's a classic example. Your team's down by 2 runs in the bottom of the 8th inning. You've got to get on base, and he's up there hacking at everything he sees.
That's why he's not a classic leadoff hitter. Should be down in the lineup, but this is where he bats for the Nationals. So Frank Robinson looked down just disgusted.
Well, he knows you get a lot out of Soriano because of his power and his speed, but situational hitting is just not his thing.
Right here, cannot throw him anything over the plate. Either a changeup in the dirt. If you want to go with fastball, you can throw something head high.
On 1 and 2, Soriano grounds into short, and Reyes throws him out. 1 away. It probably doesn't please Frank all that much that Soriano wasn't running particularly hard to first base.
Well, I will tell you, Gary, after being here last year, that anything that doesn't happen right, although it does seem like he's limping a little bit there, but certainly not running hard, if that's going to be addressed, Frank will address it immediately after the game.
1 out and nobody on. Here's Felipe Lopez. When you have a player like Soriano, who's been around for a significant period of time now, and really has not adjusted his game at all, he's obviously a tremendously talented player. You wonder as a manager what the net effect is of addressing anything like that, whether it's situational hitting, whether it's running hard to first base. Are you going to get a benefit out of addressing it, or are you better off just throwing up your hands and saying that's the kind of player he is?
Well, I think you have to address it because one of the problems they're going to have here in Washington, if they re-sign Soriano, is they're going to have a lot of young players here. And you want your best offensive player showing your young players this is how business ought to be. I think that's a bad thing to see.
On 2-0, line past Heilman's glove and into center field. And now the Nationals will get the tying run to the plate with their big hitters coming up. So Lopez with his 2nd hit of the game. 1 out and 1 on. Willie Randolph has gone to Heilman more often than not in these 8th innings since Juaner Sanchez got hurt. And in every instance except for one, Heilman's gotten the job done. And the one where he failed in Florida when he was pitching a 3rd straight day. Here's Zimmerman, who's gone 0 for 3. And he takes a strike.
Well, you know, Willie likes to play things close to the vest, so he will not say that Heilman the rest of the year is going to be the 8th inning man, but by his actions, he's saying, hey, Aaron, this is your job. We're going to bridge this to Billy Wagner.
Zimmerman to center field. Lots of room out there for Beltan. And there are 2 out. Drawing a throw is Lopez, but he's not going anywhere. Now 2 down for Nick Johnson. I asked Willie yesterday whether he thought that Heilman's success during this relatively short period of time as the 8th inning man is related to the fact that he's got a little more responsibility on his shoulders, and maybe he's responding to that. And Willie's answer was, it's not a long enough period of time to judge. He said, I'm not going to look at 6 or 7 outings and say he's turned a corner. I want him to have complete confidence in himself, something that Willie was implying that he's lacked at times this year.
I think that is definitely a problem that Heilman has to fight, that self-doubt that creeps in there every once in a while. Now, that being said, that happens to every player that puts on a uniform, some more than others.
Nick Johnson 2 for 3, a home run and an RBI single, tying run at the plate in a 6-4 game in the 8th. Fast man at first in Lopez. Johnson takes a fastball strike, 1-1. Nick Johnson staying healthy this year. That's been a rarity for him in his career. 2-1.
You know, I asked Nick Johnson once, did he develop that good eye at the plate from playing with those Yankee teams when he was a young player with Paul O'Neill and Bernie Williams and those guys who seemed to have good eyes and took a lot of pitches? He said, no, I've always had a good eye. He said, since I've been in Little League, I've always been able to differentiate between a ball and a strike.
Always among the league leaders in on-base percentage, and again this year, and he fouls off the changeup, and that caught a chunk of LaDuca. 2-2.
That's usually how it happens, isn't it? It's not the pitch where he catches it, it's that foul tip, because what happens is you have your glove in a position to catch the ball. Once it's fouled, it changes the position of the ball, and that's when it catches your thumb.
Ball's going to need surgery on that thumb when the year is over, but he is shaking off all the hits, and he just keeps on playing. Probably will get the day off tomorrow with a day game after a night game. 2-2 to Johnson. Ball 3.
Well, that's been Heilman's case. Fastball on 2-2 usually means, against the left-handed hitter, a 3-2 changeup.
A walk would put the tying runs on base. Lopez will run with 3 and 2 and 2 down. Fastball coming. Struck him out. Heilman strikes out Nick Johnson to end the inning. Another strong 8th for Heilman to set it up for Wagner. 6-4 New York.
Steve Berthiaume with his Chevrolet Baseball Night in New York update. Reds and Phillies, bottom 8. This is Ryan Howard, and that's his 40th home run of the year. It ties it at 6. Tom Gordon is on for the Phils. Back to RFK, Gary and Ron.
They played a couple of exciting games in that series between the Phillies and the Reds. 14 innings last night with the Phillies winning.
That's some kind of sophomore slump that Ryan Howard's having, isn't it? Just amazing.
The only guy who's keeping Alfonso Soriano from the top of the home run list in the National League. Mets come up in the top of the 9th. Saul Rivera, who pitched a 1-2-3-8, faces the heart of the batting order. Beltran, a home run away from the cycle, takes ball 1. Single in the first, triple in the 3rd, double in the 7th. Mets have already had 1 cycle this year from Jose Reyes. Two and 0. On 2-0, Beltran takes a strike. Is he thinking home run, thinking cycle?
I don't think that's the kind of hitter he is. I think he tries to get a pitch. Right now, he's locked in. I wouldn't try anything different than to get a good pitch and hit a line drive.
Instead, he hits a ground ball to second, and Castro throws him out. 1 away. So 1 out and nobody on for Delgado. On August 15th, the party is at Tonic Sports Bar and Restaurant as SportsNet New York presents a Mets Live on SNY viewing party. SNY's Ron Darling. I know him. He'll be there. And be sure to stick around for ticket giveaways and more. Visit SNY.TV to download your invitation today.
It's not many people that can get paid while they're working, sitting watching a game in a pub. That's pretty good.
Nice job. Delgado fouls the first one off. The return throw from Brian Schneider sailed over Rivera. It's one of the downsides of being a 5'10" pitcher.
I was just thinking maybe it was a Mackey Sasser moment.
I remember when Mackey just couldn't get that ball back to the mound.
Yes, I do.
He'd pump and double pump and triple pump, and he just felt awful for him.
He did feel awful, and you know, throwing the ball to second base on steal attempts, he had an amazing arm, and he was a great hitter, but just had the, I guess the yips is no other way to call it.
Which doesn't make him the first or the last. Remember Mike Ivy?
Mike Ivy.
Fisted to the left side, a long one for Zimmerman, who was playing over toward the hole, and so he can't get there, and thus Delgado's at bat continues.
You know, at the end of his career, Mark McGwire did not like to throw that ball anywhere. He would come charging on a bunt and look like he was going to make a throw, but he'd always kind of heave-ho it to first.
Steve Saxon, his throwing problems. Chuck Knobloch.
Chuck Knobloch.
But Mackey could get up there and hack, couldn't he?
He could. First pitch hitting.
You could bounce it. He'd be up there hacking. Delgado lifts one that was within Zimmerman's range. And that's the second out. So Rivera's come on and retired 5 in a row. 2 out and nobody on for David Wright. Coming up on Geico Sports Night following Nissan postgame live. We'll go in the Mets clubhouse for postgame reaction. Robinson Cano helps the Yankees get a victory today. And Chad Pennington, how is that shoulder after the Jets' first exhibition game? Geico Sports Night, only on SportsNet New York. Here's Wright. David 1 for 3. He has a double. He's also been hit by a pitch. He scored 2 runs. Facing the 28-year-old rookie Saul Rivera.
Talking about Steve Sachs, remember when Tommy Lasorda, a devout Catholic, they asked him what he would pray for when he went to church. He said that the Dodgers would win the pennant and that no one would hit the ball to Steve Sachs. Those were his 2 prayers that he would say.
If you're not too busy, Lord. Little roller to short, and Lopez fires and gets right, and that's 2 perfect innings for Saul Rivera in relief. Billy Wagner will try to provide some relief of his own as he comes on to try and save it. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% on car insurance. Visit geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. By Jeep, the all-new 7-passenger Jeep Commander. It's your world. Take command. And by the New York State Smokers Quit line, call 1-866-NY-QUITS for free help and advice. Start your smoke-free life today. Billy Wagner on to try to earn his 27th save. Austin Kearns first man up for the Nationals in the last of the 9th. And he takes a fastball strike from Wagner.
We see the stats on Billy Wagner. Those 19 walks are probably something that he wants to improve upon as the season goes along here in this last month and a half.
70 strikeouts in 53 innings, not bad. And the slider has Kearns fouling it off his leg, 0-2.
I was asking Billy on the bench the other day before the game about his fastball away against right-handers. I said, do you like to throw that pitch? Because it doesn't seem like you throw it a lot. And he says, I do like to throw it, and sometimes I get inside happy, so I'm going to really try to work on throwing it a little more. But he said the umpires don't always call it as he's going away now.
This is low and away, 1-2. Kearns grounds one foul. Pitcher spot due up next. Damian Jackson is out on deck to pinch hit. He'll Behind him, Alex Escobar here in the last of the night. Mets trying tonight for their 70th win of the season. Only one team in the big leagues has gotten to 70 wins, and that's the Tigers. They lost their 4th in a row today. Struck him out. Kearns down swinging, one away.
Well, it's that fastball away. After working inside as much as he does, very difficult for a right-handed hitter to cover both sides of the plate. 71st strikeout now for Billy Wagner.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now the veteran backup infielder Damian Jackson has had a rough year, hitting just .205 for the Nationals. With 1 out and nobody on, Jackson takes a strike.
Okay, we've seen a few bench players have a tough year this year. Abraham Nunez is having a tough year. Philadelphia. Damian Jackson. Nunez, of course, playing every day now, but
so it certainly makes you wonder, why is it that bench players who come to the Mets seem to have great years?
Well, you let those guys on the bench to have that 1-year contract. It keeps them happy. Those bench players will finally get that 2-year contract.
1-2 to Jackson. Although Marlon Anderson got the 2-year deal, and he has certainly held up his end this year. But you're right. And Julio Franco got a 2-year contract, and he's been terrific.
Well, he's going to be the same.
Until he's 70.
Until he's 70, exactly.
1-2 to Jackson. Struck him out. Wagner overmatching Jackson with a 98-mile-an-hour fastball away. 2 out and nobody on.
Again, just after pounding him in, he just cannot handle this pitch to a right-hander. Shorten up his stroke, just trying to make contact. You can't on a 97, 98-mile-an-hour fastball.
So the Nationals down to their final out. Wagner at his overpowering best will take on Alex Escobar. Strike 1. Escobar 0 for 3, struck out twice tonight. That last fastball clocked at 99.
Pitches with a way I'm not familiar. 99.
Nor is anybody else.
Oh.
This guy's 5'10". And there's a strike at 98. And the Nationals are down to their final strike of the night. And Wagner is in full don't touch me mode. Met fans revving up. 0-2 to Escobar. Breaking ball foul. If you can throw it 99, why would you ever throw a slider?
Because you want to embarrass the hitter. That's what you're trying to do.
Well, he didn't embarrass him, but he broke his bat.
Well, I'll tell you, you've seen some serious emergency hacks by these National hitters off Billy Wagner tonight.
Out on deck is Brandon Harper, a career minor league catcher who would come up to pinch hit for Brian Schneider to get them a right-handed bat. What must he be thinking? Maybe thinking he hopes Escobar strikes out. On 0-2, a little bit low.
Harper's probably saying there's nothing against Pedro. Why can't I have an at bat against Feliciano in the 6th or 7th?
Just missed. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Boy, are there a lot of Met fans in this crowd right now.
Well, just a well-placed fastball. I think home plate umpire Aaron Doherty was calling that down.
2-2. Slider chopped. Right hurries in. Fires. Got it. Ball game over. Billy Wagner with a 1-2-3 ninth inning gets his 27th save, and the Mets even up the series here in Washington as they make it 6 wins in their last 7, their 70th win of the season, as the Mets get the 6-4 win over Washington tonight. And that is Billy Wagner at his dominating best. Wagner saves it for Pedro Feliciano after John Maine had his scoreless inning streak stopped at 26. Another triple for Reyes tonight, a triple for Beltran, And the Mets forge a 6-4 win here in D.C. Once again, our final score, the Mets 6, the Nationals 4. Be sure to join us for our next broadcast tomorrow at 1 o'clock on the WB11. Coming up next, it's Nissan Postgame Live. Mets in D.C., and John Maine was the main man again tonight. For the first 3 innings, he held the Nationals at bay. The Mets got him some runs to work with. The Presidents all showed up, but Nick Johnson finally put an end to Maine's scoreless streak, and Soriano hit a bomb of his own. But the Mets were able to come back. Beltan with the go-ahead hit, and the Mets win 6-4. For Ron Darling and Chris Connor, I'm Gary Cohen. Let's go to Steve Berthew.
Thank you very much, Gary. Coverage of the New York Mets continues right here on SportsNet New York. Up next, it's Nissan Postgame Live. We'll break down tonight's game between the Mets and Nationals. We'll also have lots of action from the Mets clubhouse, including manager Willie Randolph. His postgame session in its entirety. Geico SportsNite immediately follows our coverage with continuing Mets coverage. Right now, it's Nissan Postgame Live coming up after this short break. Hey there, welcome to Nissan Postgame Live. Steve Berthew along the way, coming to you from our SNY studio here at Rockefeller Center West. The Mets get revenge for last night's loss at RFK. A win over the Nationals, 6-4 is the final score from Washington. Let's go immediately to the highlights. And John Maine, all the talk, of course, is 26-game hitting streak, or hitless streak, 23-inning hitless streak. Hello. It was snapped at 26, but he got off to a good start. Maine, top one, Felipe Lopez off Maine's glove. Jose Valentin is there to recover at second base. Next up, Ryan Zimmerman, and this one is hit right at Maine. This one he's able to field easy play, so he is through the first, so came in 23 straight scoreless innings. Now it's up to 24. In the third, Maine up himself facing Nationals pitcher Jason Bergman, who was just called up on Friday, and Maine is plunked in the back. He's just fine. Next up, Jose Reyes. Lifts one to right center. And look at John Maine motoring all the way from first. Maine is waved home. Reyes, of course, probably slowing up, waiting for Maine to score with his speed. Reyes in there with another triple. Mets up 1-0. Next, Paul LaDuca had the home run last night. 400th career RBI there as Reyes scores easily. It's 2-0 New York. Next up, Carlos Beltran, and it was Beltran who had the big offensive night for the Mets. Into right center, Alex Escobar. Noonan can't get there. LaDuca scores. Beltran, his first triple of the year. That seems hard to believe. Beltran had a big night, 3 for 5, and the Mets lead is 3-0 as Jason Bergman gives up the 3 runs on just 4 hits. He went 5 innings. Bottom 3, here's Bergman, and Maine gets him. Next, Maine facing Alfonso Soriano. Soriano goes down 26 scoreless, but in the fourth, it all ends. One swing by Nick Johnson.
And Johnson gets a hold of it. Deep to right field. Millage back looking up, and the scoreless streak has come to an end.
Into section 465. It may have well been 465 feet. Johnson crushes his 18th of the year, and there goes Maine's scoreless inning streak. The Mets now lead is 3-1. In the sixth, David Wright to the gap in right center off new pitcher Travis Hughes. It's a double for Wright. Next up, Jose Valentin, who's been red hot lately, hitting .310 in his last 18 games. Gets a ground out to second here, but it is a useful out. Get him on, get him over. David Wright goes to third after a walk to Michael Tucker. It's Lassing's Millage. High off the plate, a little too high, in fact. Ryan Zimmerman has no play. Wright scores. 4-1 Mets. Get him on, get him over, and get him in. Same inning, they're loaded. LaDuca. Line to second. Added Anderson, the side is retired. Bottom 6, Alfonso Soriano. Uh-oh, I feel a flashback coming on. May 2nd. It's almost as if it were just happening. Last time Soriano faced John Maine. Oh, ouch, babe. 2-run home run. And then tonight, yeah, one more time. Another 2-run home run. Soriano crushes one. I mean, when Maine gives him up, he's given up big here. Give him credit. It's 37th, so it's 4-3 now. Next up, Felipe Lopez, and suddenly it's getting away from John Maine. Lopez will steal second, and Maine is done. Lopez takes off ahead of the throw. John Maine tonight, 5 1/3, gave up 4 runs on 4 hits. He walked 1, struck out 6. The scoreless inning streak snapped to 26. Pedro Feliciano comes in, immediately gives up a base hit to Nick Johnson. Lopez scores. It's 4-4, and there goes the win for John Maine. Top 7, we mentioned it was Beltan with a big night offensively, leading off. A blooper, left center. Beltan follows the triple with a double here. So the Mets have the go-ahead run in scoring position for the next hitter, Carlos Delgado. The shift is on. Hit sharply, Beltan can advance to third. Another useful out by the Mets after David Wright was hit by a pitch. It's Jose Valentin. We mentioned red hot, 310 in his last 18 games. A homer, 7 RBIs. Beltan scores easily, and the Mets have retaken the lead. It's 5-4. Next up, Michael Tucker. In there again in left field. Willie Randolph getting a good long look at Michael Tucker. To left, Wright will able to tag from third here. Valentin hustling advances to second. He beats the throw just barely, and the Mets have some cushion at 6-4. And here's the replay of the sac fly. It's cut off, and they have a play on Valentin, who hustles and beats the throw. Bottom 8, Aaron Heilman in relief, facing Johnson, who, as we've seen, has had a big night, but a huge strikeout there from Aaron Heilman. It's up to Billy Wagner, looking for his 27th save. Alex Escobar. Mets come back after last night's loss and win 6-4. It is Billy Wagner's 27th save, the 311th of his career, tying Tom Henke, former Blue Jay great, for 15th on the career list. John Maine charged with 4 runs on 4 hits, 5 1/3. Pedro Feliciano, who came in through a couple of changeups and got burned, ends up getting the win. He advances to 5-2. We mentioned the big night. Carlos Beltan, he spoke after the game with our Chris Conley.
Carlos, first of all, let me ask you about the knees. How are they?
Well, they feel sore, but like I say, this is something that I need to play for the rest of the season. I just need to, take care, get treatment early before the games and continue to play like that.
Well, obviously you're playing pretty well out there with the single, double, and triple tonight. Does it enter into your mind when you get a late game at bat and you have a chance for the cycle?
Well, in that particular at bat, I didn't know. Everyone asked me about that. I thought I had 2 double today, but Julio said, why you don't try to go for a home run? I wasn't thinking about that. I was trying to put the ball in play, try to get a hit and, but grind out the second.
You got on them early today. That had to be a big key for you in the game.
Well, in that particular bat, I was trying to, put the ball in play, and I get the double, and, Delgado get me over, and Valentin drive me in. They came back today in this ball game, but it was great to see Maine pitching the way he pitched great, and we were able to come back and win this one.
The bullpen's been fantastic as well when you talk about a combination of Feliciano and Heilman and Wagner tonight, but everybody's been great the last couple of weeks.
We're doing a real good job. That's what it's all about. It's about team, and sometimes we're going to be able to come through offensively, and but today feel like we come through offensively, but the bullpen also come through. They chop them down, and that's what we're looking for. When every time we get the lead, we need the bullpen just to come in and try to keep us in the game, and they're doing a real good job, and we're happy about that.
Thanks for your time, Carlos.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chris and Carlos. So Beltan, by the way, the first player in the major leagues this year with 30 homers and 30 doubles this season. As you just heard Chris mention, he needed a home run to get the cycle, but grounded out in the 9th inning, but he still will take a 3 for 5 any day of the week. Carlos Delgado 0 for 4 in the cleanup spot. That hurts a little bit. Not a lot of offense from the Mets, as we see Beltan was the only real offensive star tonight. As for the Washington Nationals, well, stay away from Nick Johnson. 2 for 4, the solo homer, his 18th of the year, an absolute moonshot. Alfonso Soriano had the big home run, a 2-run shot, his 37th at the top of the order. Soriano taking a 1 for 4 night tonight in the Nationals' 6-4 loss to the Mets. Here is Nick Johnson. As we said, John Maine's consecutive scoreless inning streak ended on that pitch. Nick Johnson, the moonshot to section 465 there at RFK. 26 consecutive scoreless innings by John Maine. A tremendous effort from him. And the streak ends at 26 with the Nick Johnson home run. And then Soriano followed with a home run later in the game. Here it is, John Maine, the pitching line. Great job by the bullpen. It did get away from Feliciano a little bit, but he ends up with the win. Aaron Heilman got some big outs, as we saw, and Billy Wagner came on for his 27th save. We mentioned Wagner before. The save is 27th of the season, and career save number 311 for Billy Wagner, and he is now even with the former Blue Jay great. When's the last time you heard Tom Henke's name mentioned anywhere? Excellent producing in the broadcast. Tom Henke, welcome to the broadcast. 15th on the career list now. So up next is another immortal, Rob Nen. So Billy Wagner, more saves than Goose Gossage. A lot of people think Goose Gossage should be a Hall of Famer. So with Billy Wagner, you look at the numbers. I know you may not think, okay, Billy Wagner certainly not automatic, but the numbers say you got to give him consideration at the end of his career. Coming up on Nissan Postgame Live, back out to RFK for Ron Darling's take on tonight's game. 6-4 Mets win over the Nationals. We'll bring highlights from other games around the major leagues, and we will have manager Willie Randolph's daily postgame session with the media. You will see that in its entirety as always. All that and much more coming up right here on Nissan Postgame Live. Welcome back to Nissan Postgame Live. The Mets 6-4 winners over the Nationals in Washington tonight. New York's 6th win in 7 games. Let's go back to RFK now and bring in one of the men who called the game for us here on SportsNet New York, Ron Darling. Ron, John Maine, he gives up the home run in the 4th inning to Nick Johnson. Okay, so the scoreless inning streak is gone. Still a great effort until he runs into trouble in the 6th. What happened?
Well, I think, he gave up the infield hit to Castro, who pinch hit, and then Soriano just hitting on that first pitch, drove that fastball over the center field wall. Soriano just having an amazing year. His 37th home run. He came over here, didn't want to play in the outfield. Now he's in the outfield with 19 assists and 37 home runs. Just their premier player over here in Washington.
Yeah, and then it gets away from him completely, and he leaves after 5 1/3. But prior to that, Ronnie, you had to like what you saw from John Maine in the first 3 innings up until the Nick Johnson home run. In fact, looked as good as ever.
Yeah, even though he gave up ended up giving up 4 runs because Feliciano gave up a base hit to Johnson, knock in that tying run. I liked Maine today. I liked the way he threw. I liked the way he was aggressive. He got hurt by a couple of home run balls, and that has been something that he's given up a couple of home runs in those starts. But I liked the way he pitched.
Jose Valentin, Ron, continues to be a tremendous contributor for the Mets. We gave these numbers earlier in the show. 310 in his last 18 games, an 18 for 58 clip. And for a guy who's never played second base before, you would never know it defensively.
Well, he made a great play today off of Felipe Lopez, barehanded it and making the play at first. But the thing you love about Valentin, he's a pro, he's a veteran. He knows how to hit in those situational kind of hitting things, and he did the job today getting that base hit. That was a long at-bat against Chris Schroeder. He fouled off a lot of pitches off to the left side and finally breaking his bat but dropping the ball in right field for that go-ahead run. After that, of course, Michael Tucker, a new guy in left field, he got a sacrifice fly to get it to 6-4 and the Mets victory.
Oh, let's look to tomorrow afternoon, Ron, and Steve Traxel. As we said, he's not real sexy. He doesn't work quickly, but all he does is win games, and he's done nothing but win, in fact, 8 of his last 10 starts.
Steve Traxel's had a lot of base runners this year, but he finds a way out of the jams. He's made those pitches when he's had guys on base, and I think that is the key to his season. That's why he has 11 wins to go with, that the Mets score a tremendous amount of runs when he's in there. So Traxel, if it goes true to form, he'll go his 6 innings or so, and he might have some base runners and give up a few runs, but the Mets seem to hit on his day. Think about it. They won their 70th game today. They didn't do that until September 4th of last year, and their 35th road victory now ties them for last year's total. So Mets just doing everything right so far this year.
Ron, I know during the game you talked about this with Gary Cohen, but as the season wears on from this point on, the big question, it seems, is going to be when you get to a playoff game 3, who gets the ball? Who's your game 3 playoff starter right now for the Mets?
Well, for me, and I don't have to make the decision, Willie Randolph does, but Traxel has the most wins, but I would put El Duque in that 3rd spot. Reason I like El Duque is because he's been there, he's done that on a national stage, and he's got great timing. The thing about El Duque is that he knows when the bright lights are the brightest, and he comes up usually as a winner, as his record will show in the postseason. Real quick, you don't like him coming out of the bullpen, so effective there for Ozzie Guillen last year? He had 1 appearance of 4 innings that was awesome with the bases loaded, but El Duque, I think, is my choice to start a game. All right, Ron Darling. Ron, thanks very much. We'll check back with you tomorrow. Thanks.
All right, Nissan Postgame Live continues after this. Much more reaction on the Mets' 6-4 win over the Nationals at RFK in Washington. Stay with us. Welcome back. More Nissan Postgame Live coming up, but for a look at what's next on Geico Sports Night, we check in with David Lee. David.
Thanks, Steve. We'll have much more on the John Maine's performance tonight, plus reaction from Yankee Stadium and a breakdown of the preseason openers for the Giants and Jets last night. We'll hear from new head coach Eric Mangini and Chad Pennington in his first performance since off-season surgery. And how many defensive ends do the Giants have? Well, they have one good one in a rookie named Matthias Kiwanuka. We'll hear from the rookie and other Giants on their win over the Ravens. All that and more coming up on Geico Sports Night. But for now, more Nissan Postgame Live with Steve Berthiaume. Steve?
Thanks, Dave. Tom Coughlin has that Boston College connection working to his advantage. Thank you very much. We'll see you in a few minutes. Let's take a look now at what else happened around the major leagues today. We started at Yankee Stadium, Angels and Yankees. Top one, Juan Rivera drives in Sean Figgins with a single to right. Bobby Abreu with a nice throw to get Vladimir Guerrero trying to go to third. 1-0 LA of Anaheim. Bottom two, Robinson Cano off Kelvin Escobar. A 3-run shot is Cano's 6th. He was 2 for 4 today, and the Yankees have a 3-1 lead. Later in that inning, it's Johnny Damon. Damon goes yard, his 18th. Escobar gave up 5 runs on 8 hits in 6. It's 5-1 Yankees. In the 6th, Orlando Cabrera to third. A-Rod. This is ruled an error on Alex Rodriguez, his 20th. That is the most among all Major League third basemen. One more look there. Later in the 6th, Angels 2nd and 3rd, Curtis Pride. Jorge Posada picks off Guerrero. A tough day for Vlad the Impaler on the base paths. Guerrero, well, all you can do is laugh. Take a look at the replay. It is a very close play indeed. He might have got a hand in there, but they say no. Top 7, Howie Kendrick doubles to the gap in left center. The immortal Howie Kendrick. Angels loaded with good young players. He later scored on a Jose Molina sac fly, made it 5-2. In the 9th, enter the other Sandman. Rivera gets Kendrick to pop out to Robinson Cano. There's your ball game. Mariano, the great Mariano's 30th save and 33 chances. Jarrett Wright gave up just 2 hits in 5 1/3, his 9th win. So could the Red Sox keep pace? They were hosting the Orioles. Bases loaded in the 6th. Brian Roberts delivers 2. It's 7-3 Baltimore, as Jason Johnson gives up 7 runs on 9 hits and only 5 1/3. Bottom 6, William Opeña had a big day. Center field, deep. Ouch. Patterson slams into the wall. Corey Patterson is down 2-run score. Triple for Payne, who also homered and doubled in the game. 7-5. Next up, Doug Mirabelli. And this is what Doug Mirabelli does for you. The occasional home run. His 5th of the year. When he hits him long. That ties it at 7, a big one. Manny Ramirez hitless, trying to keep that hitting streak going. Bottom 10, Brandon Fahey. Hello. The error by Fahey allows Kapler to score. The base hit extends Ramirez's hitting streak to 27 games, his only hit of the day. The walk-off is the winner for the Red Sox, 8-7 in 10. So here's the deal in the AL East and the AL wild card. The Yankees win. The Red Sox come from behind to win, so it is 2 games for the Yankees in the division. The Blue Jays are 8 back. As for the wild card, White Sox now 2 up on Boston and 2.5 ahead of the Twins. What about the National League? Well, here's the Reds and the Phillies fighting for that NL wild card. Top 4, 5-5. Ryan Friel to left field. Royce Clayton comes in, RBI double for Friel, and the Reds have a 6-5 lead. Bottom 8, Ryan Howard, his 40th 40-homer season for Ryan Howard here. Closing in on Mike Schmidt's Phillies single-season record. That tied it at 6. Top 9, it's 7-6 since Javier Valentin. Line drive single that scores a former Red Sox great Scott Hatteberg. And the Reds take the 8-6 lead, and they win it 9-7, so the Phillies are losers here. Let's check the National League wild card. It's a half game for the Reds over the Padres. As we've said, this race, not the greatest. Only a couple teams, in fact, over 500, but it's very interesting. Reds, Padres, Diamondbacks, and 3 other teams all within 3 games of the wild card. Let's see how the minor league affiliates for the Mets did today. The Tides taking on Toledo at 7:15. That's a 7:15 game. And you've got the B-Mets at Bowie. And, of course, the Brooklyn Cyclones taking on the Mike Lowell Spinners, the Red Sox affiliate in a beautiful Lowell, Mass. All right, when we come back here on Nissan Postgame Live, Willie Randolph, his postgame media session in its entirety. That's coming up next. Stay with us. Welcome back to Nissan Postgame Live. The Mets 6-4 winners over the Nationals in Washington, D.C. It is the Mets' 70th win of the season already and their 6th win in 7 games. After the game, Willie Randolph met the media.
After the home run to Nick.
I don't know. He was throwing the ball great. He did another great job for us. And listen, you're going to give up a couple hits every once in a while, and great hitters like Soriano and Nick Johnson's going to get you every once in a while too. So I don't know if it was that. I thought he stayed pretty focused most of the night. There was a couple of times where I think he had the pitcher where he almost walked the pitcher one time. But he's learning how to stay focused, and I'm not saying that's what happened tonight with him. I still thought he did an excellent job. Would love to have got him the decision there, but Feliciano came and did a nice job for us, and Aaron did a great job also, and Billy finished it up for us. But all in all, it was one of those good ball games, kept coming back, and Carlos got us going after we tied. So good win for us, good win.
Is Maine quickly becoming an experienced pitcher for you guys, really?
An experienced pitcher?
Yeah. I mean, are you seeing improvement from him from each time out?
Well, he's got a long way to go as far as experience. He's getting better, getting more confidence. I think it's probably the proper word is more confidence. I mean, every time he goes out, he gains some experience, but he's got a long way to go. I mean, he still has some things he needs to refine. But again, I'm not going to nitpick too much for what he's doing. He's in a nice little rhythm right now, and just got to keep him right there. Keep him right there.
I only asked that question only because you have such an experienced front end of the rotation, and you're trying to fit him in the back. Trying to wonder how close he gets to them.
No, he's got a long way to go, man. It really does. I mean, he's just learning how to adjust to this league and adjust to what we want him to do, and incorporate all of his pitches. I mean, obviously his fastball is getting him by in a lot of ways, but he's still mixing in some good changeups. He threw some nice sliders tonight. He's progressing very nicely, and anytime you go out and pitch well, the experience is good, obviously, but he still is a young player who's still learning how to pitch in a lot of different ways. So it's just nice to see him continue to gain that confidence that he needs, and feel like he's coming to his own in that spot. So we're proud of him.
I'm sorry. Can you read anything into a first pitch home run? Maybe he's got sloppy, or maybe he was just trying to sneak something by.
No, you preach get ahead. You want to throw a strike. I mean, obviously you want to keep the ball down, but sometimes you're going to get burned. Most hitters are first ball fastball hitters, so you have to live with that sometimes. But it depends on how you throw the ball. If you just kind of just give him a mediocre, get me over fastball, then that's not good. But if you throw your best pitch, and every once in a while you got to tip your hat to the hitter, I mean, you do it. I mean, Soriano, I just had a funny feeling about that at bat. We had pretty much kept him down last night, but he's one of those guys that with that electric swing that if you make a mistake, he's going to make you pay for it, and went straight away center field. Pretty impressive.
It wasn't a lazy fastball. It was just a
No, I don't think it was. I think Sori got on it real good and got full extension. I think he wanted to make a quality pitch there. It just, again, you have to tip your hat sometimes. I mean, Nick Johnson and Soriano are the two best hitters in their lineup, along with Zimmerman. And, when you go to a course of a game like he did, a few mistakes are tolerated, just that you just hope that, it doesn't hurt you. And this is the case that hurt him a little bit, but I thought he did a great job throwing the ball, and a very positive outing for him again, I think.
All right, that was Willie Randolph just a moment ago. Here's your Nissan play of the game, 4-4 in the 7th. Jose Valentin contributing again. The bloop to right scores Carlos Beltran. That was the go-ahead and what turned out to be the winning run in the Mets 6-4 win over the Washington Nationals tonight. Valentin one more time, red hot, 310 in his last 18 games. That's 18 for 58. When we come back, we'll hear from John Maine. His scoreless inning streak is snapped tonight in Washington. You'll hear from him when we come back.
The new 7-passenger GL. We gave it more space. Hans? We gave it more handling and performance. We gave it more safety and strength. We think it's finally ready. It's more Mercedes to love. Visit your local authorized Mercedes-Benz dealer today, starting at $55,675.
Is the team where you want it to be at this point in the season?
I think we're getting there. Our pitching staff is starting to settle in. Bats have been hot lately.
What about Baginski?
Well, what about him?
Well, he's only batting .027 for the entire season.
Well, I think we got to give him a little time to find his groove. I mean, the kid's got a lot of heart.
He's no better, sweep!
His play in the field is much better.
Does it matter that he bought the team?
Next question.
What's going on, man? We should have been there by now.
Well, it's rush hour.
Pedro Martinez is not allowed to hit. 1-0 New York. We're in the top.
Why are you taking second? We're going to be here all night.
No, it will clear up any minute now.
3-2 on the way. Here's the payoff pitch.
You know what? Just let me out. I'm going to walk from here. What?
Relax, freak. Just relax.
SportsNet New York, home of the Mets, Jets, and all things New York sports.
Get your New York sports here.
Welcome back to Nissan Postgame Live. The Mets 6-4 winners over the Nationals in Washington. John Maine ends up with a no decision. Took a one-hitter into the 6th inning. That one hit was a Nick Johnson home run, so the consecutive scoreless inning streak goes from 23 to 26. It snapped to 26, but Maine ends up, as we said, with a no decision. 4 runs on 4 hits in 5 1/3. Here he is after the game.
I wasn't even thinking about it. Like I said earlier, just try to keep the team in. We had a 3-0 lead. And I was just challenging with the fastballs, and he put a good swing on it.
What do you think happened in the 6th, I guess, with John?
I just, I know Soriano's an aggressive hitter, and I just caught a little bit too much of the plate. I went to a slide step, and I probably shouldn't have done that. I was, a little too concerned about the guy on first, and we had a lead at the time. It was just a mistake, and I was still learning from it.
You talked about your confidence a lot, Jordan. Does it get more with each start, or was there a point where you kind of felt like you belonged?
Each start's an improvement. I just go out there, and I don't think it's totally there yet. That's why each start you can get better and better. And just I didn't do as well as I have the last few starts today, but that's what the bullpens are for, and I'll just work harder, during the bullpen.
How did you feel strength-wise when Willie took you out?
I felt fine. I was used to, I didn't throw that many pitches. I could have been a little more efficient at the pitch count, but I felt fine.
What did he tell you, if anything, when he came out?
Just a good job. Not much you can say. I know I made a mistake, early in the inning, and it happens.
You struck out Soriano earlier, John, with a pretty good fastball up and in. The pitch that you threw him to hit the home run on was just a case of just.
It was just. I try to get ahead of him. And. I'm sure he knew I was throwing a fastball, but I was trying to get ahead of him, trying to get it a little more on the outside. It just caught too much of the plate, and he's got that long reach, and he put a good swing on that one too.
Does it mean anything to you to have done what you did do, establishing a new streak for rookies, starters, and all that kind of stuff, or do you not?
I don't really mind. I don't really care about it too much. I just want be here to help the team win.
Put a 4-seamer, or one was coming up.
They're all 4-seamers. Yeah.
You have a better rookie streak than Dwight Gooden. That's pretty significant.
No, I'll worry about that. The season's over after we get to the postseason and do well.
John, overall positive tonight?
Yeah, I can't go out there and it's tough to go out there pitching and not giving up a run. And I wish it would have gone differently, but it didn't. And that just means I got some things I got to work on in the bullpen that, pointed out. So I'll go do that in 2 days.
All right, hard to find fault with John Maine's effort tonight. Took a one-hitter into the 6th inning, ends up with a no decision, but the Mets get the win over the Nationals 6-4. Billy Wagner closing it out for his 27th save. The rubber game of the series is tomorrow. That's a 1 o'clock game. That is Steve Traxel versus Tony Armas. That does it for Nissan Postgame Live. I'm Steve Berthume. Don't forget, Geico Sports Night comes up right after this here on SNY. Complete Mets, Yankees highlights, all the news from the Giants and Jets after their first preseason games yesterday. Mets get a win, 6-4. Billy Wagner shuts the door. That's it for Nissan Postgame Live. Geico Sports Night is next. Enjoy.